Separated by the Salish Sea, connected by the Rio Graps in BC. This is the Cup Check Wrestling Podcast with Aaron Schultz and Corey Ace Trelaw.
As the co-host of this podcast once said, there's always something. And something showed up again over the weekend, so recording late on a Tuesday. It's the Cup Check Wrestling Podcast. It's Aaron Schultz along with Corey Ace Trelaw. Ace, it's great to see you. I guess we're just trying to play with each other's hearts. We're seeing who's going to blink first. Who's going to be the first one to show up in one of these Zoom calls days and days later. How's everything going in your hood? How was your weekend?
It's good. Yeah, no, it's been busy, but I think I coined it last week when I said it is always something, and I'm pretty sure I used a curse word. But it was good. This Sunday was our what we call tech weekend for the play, which is we do our Q to Q. So essentially what that is in kind of theater jargon is you do your scene and you kind of walk around, but for each cue. So whether it's a sound cue or a lighting cue or, so it's a very long day. We got to the theater. I think it was around 9 was call time. 10 we started. We did all day. We do a potluck and then we do one full run in costume, all the cues set. So yeah, I think I got home probably about 10ish. So it definitely was a bit of a longer one. And then Monday I just had a root canal as well. So that was fun. Yeah, so it's been a bit of a busy one. It's nice to get it in now. And again, we get to take advantage of the beautiful natural lighting. So that's always a bonus.
We take it. Yeah, unfortunately it's a little bit more cloudy kind of lighting here in Kamloops rather than sunshine. It should be more sun than cloud tomorrow, but I gotta say, I'm digging that we're finally hitting double digits again. That winter was just depressing, and now we got sunshine. And for the final time this weekend, our clocks will go back an hour one final time.
That's right.
Don't have to
spring
deal
ahead
with
one final time.
clock. Spring back. Well, we're losing an hour. That's what I mean. Like, I think, yeah. So spring, but we're losing the hour. We're both speaking English, just not the same language here, or however that saying goes. But either or, no matter which way you frame it, I
rant really quick about one thing. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, when we said
hold on to that thought, but I just need to praise. No longer will we probably have pitch black at 4 p.m. in November or December. Yes. Praise everything.
Praise Kier.
Oh, go on ahead.
Actually, you don't watch Severance, I don't think yet. So if you want, you should watch Severance, but you'll get that when you do. So this has always been a little thing that's really irked me when people say in the summer the days are getting longer. Technically, they're not, because after the 21st, it starts going the other way again. So when people go, it's and then after winter, after December 21st, they start going longer again. So Christmas, it doesn't get shorter. Technically, the days leading into Christmas get longer. And every day over summer technically gets shorter. But that's here nor there. That's just a little thing that's always irked me a bit.
And you have the gall to call me the Meltzer of this duo here.
I never said that. That was, I think, the audience that made that distinction.
We're an audience of two. In this case, yes. I swear to God, this is
Lita pokes in once in a while too, so maybe 3.
Okay, fair play. Now we dig it. Plus, Lita, our number one fan. Hopefully, she'll dig our big announcement later. But very quickly, run the mill kind of weekend for me. It was, of course, filled with watching nothing but wrestling. Another newsworthy week. Early bedtime on I shouldn't say an early bedtime on the Friday. I wanted to, but quick shout out the Thompson Rivers University Wolfpack women's volleyball team. Going to nationals for the first time in program history. Over the weekend, they had their first home playoff series in program history. They defeated the reigning defending national champion, featuring the 2-time National Player of the Year, Rhea Sternix. Defeated them in 3 matches. I was at game 2, and that was the one they lost. So it was
Mm.
good that I had already committed to go see the Kamloops Blazers here with my cousin here on the Saturday. So I'm like, folks, go check this game out. I'm not there. They're going to win. And they did. But on that Friday night, I meant to have a early bedtime. But of course, I work that day. I work early mornings. And so I go to the tournament capital center. I'm thinking, okay, I can't have a coffee. I'll be up all night at this point. Maybe a can of Coke. But then I see one of the best beverages ever created, a white Monster Energy, 0 calories or 0 sugar, whatever it is. I'm like, yeah, this will be out of my system in case this game goes 5 sets, because that's the thing with volleyball. It can go 3, it could go 5. You never know. I'm like, I'm going to be here for the long haul if need be. But then after 2 sets, I thought the vibes are too good right now. I think our Wolfpack's winning it. And me, the dumbest idiot to ever live, got a second white monster. And I was fucking up until 1 a.m. just existing. But
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, do they last longer in your system? Do you find like a regular coffee versus energy drink? Or
well, I find whichever gives me like the bigger boost of energy initially tends to leave my system quickly. Like, even if I don't get that jolt with coffee, and I used to be a coffee hound, have cut back over the last year and
oh, yeah,
change.
you would
Uh,
house like 3 or 4.
oh my god, I because I work early mornings, I'd get an extra large from McDonald's to hit lead off, and then I get like maybe 3 or 4 mugs at the office, and folks would wonder how my heart was still intact. But I also
Yeah.
love the taste of it all too. So, but yeah, I find like,
Decaf's your friend for that because I
oh
love the
no,
taste of coffee. But for me, you can't have 4,
yeah,
especially at night.
it's not like a Corona Zero or like whatever the fuck Heineken's near beer is. It's got to be real coffee or nothing. I am a purist like that because I
Okay,
know
all right.
it won't make me jittery, but sometimes if it's drinking at the most inopportune time, I can find myself staying up. But now I've almost reversed trend where I realized if I ever want to go on a late night drive and drink an ice cap will keep me up now too, which is just,
Man.
oh man, I'm washed. McQueen is fading. McQueen is fading. McQueen is
I find
fading.
iced, I feel like sometimes it doesn't count, which I know it does, but like a warm coffee, I don't know, it's definitely a placebo at this point. But if I have a warm coffee, I'm up. If I could do like an ice cap at like 8 or 9 and still 11 o'clock if I really. Although sometimes I'll switch to the white hot chocolates at Timmy's if it's getting late. So
Those are
that's
fire.
a
Those are
insider
good.
choice.
Those are good when you're ready to go to bed. Like that's like a
Oh
big
yeah.
warm blanket coming around you. Our audience may need Monster Energies and coffees at this rate if we're going to be here for ages talking
Right?
about
Yeah, I was gonna say.
caffeinated drinks. So I guess we shall get this road on the show and talk some wrestling. There's so much wrestling
Let's
over
do
the
it.
weekend. I couldn't even watch the show I wanted. I completely forgot to mention last week, but New Japan Pro Wrestling had a show. I think it's called the New Beginning USA. They usually always have around a show around this time in the States. Looked like a stack card. Heard good reviews. Did not get the chance to watch it because amid our usual weekend adventures, there was a lot of wrestling to watch. The least of which, not well, I guess the most newsworthy show being WWE having their Elimination Chamber pay per view event. We now have a more clearer path to what this WrestleMania card is shaping up to be. Uh, we've mentioned this before, or at least I've given this talk before. I think we're past the point of all time terrible, no good, very bad shows. Although we did have one laughably bad segment on this Elimination Chamber show, it was not bad, pretty good. That being said, though, I can say if you know the results, I can't say you need to go out of your way to watch this. Ace, it wasn't too long. I didn't think it was too bad. 3 hours, way less if you fast forward through the commercials. And especially on this show, fast forward through all those entrances. Your Elimination Chamber review for 2026.
Yeah, one of my common critiques is just the length because a lot of times, it's funny because most people complain about the lengths of show being too long. I sometimes find like these shows, especially like match card wise, like are very short, and they'll put kind of like 3 or 4 big ones, and that's it. And I'm not really huge on that, and especially if you compare something on this show where it's the actual wrestling versus how much time there was for ad breaks or the segment that I feel like I know what you're alluding to there. For me, it was interesting because it was actually broken up It was a buddy of mine's birthday on Saturday, so I watched the first two matches, went out for dinner, came back and watched the last two matches. So it was kind of a nice buffer in between, regardless. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I get, and especially now because you're not selling a, well, arguably you could ask, what's it, 29 for ESPN Plus now, but you're not selling a pay-per-view. So, but I think sometimes that, what we used to pay for them, whether 49, 59, whatever it used to be. And for 4 or 5 matches, you're just like, man, like that's like nothing. Different world obviously nowadays, so it's kind of comparing apples to oranges, but that's one thing I always really notice with these shows is just how outside of the big four and even Survivor Series, how short these all feel, and it's still to this day does.
Yeah, on that note, then about shows being too short and shows being too long. I mean, we see right now with like AEW pay-per-view events, like sometimes it'll go upwards to 5 hours in length. But while I've heard the critiques of these shows are too long, you're being asked to fork $50 to watch that show in isolation. So I do understand trying to give as much value as possible. And at least up here in Canada, it's just you can get the cheapest tier Netflix subscription and you can watch these WWE shows.
Yeah.
And so we kind of see it with like for MMA fans with the UFC, like as soon as you didn't have to really need too many well, you're kind of seeing it now in terms of like with them being with Paramount, but with their move to ESPN in the States, I mean, they got guaranteed money. All of a sudden, you don't need to put on as big a show when asking folks their money. And while this show, it was 3 hours, and I was able to watch it well delayed. It was after the Kamloops Blazers game I went to on the Saturday. Was able to fast forward through all the commercials, but even for I think it was about 2 total hours I had to watch. It did. If I watched this show live, I feel like I'd be miserable, just like not just with the commercials, but Ace, these entrances were something else, especially in the Elimination Chamber matches. I never need to see someone, especially like say, like if you're the last one going into the pod, oh, I gotta go march over to this corner of the ring and talk to this guy in this pod. And I'm gonna do it over to the person in this pod and taunt them and do that 2 more times before eventually going in. I swear the entrances were longer than the matches. I would have gone insane if I had to watch this live.
Yeah, elimination chambers, I will say, are bad for entrances because you do get that. You get them taking their time, you get them doing the circling. And it's funny because one of the things that Brooke and I, my fiance, when we're watching these shows, like she wants to see all the, oh, let's see their costumes, let's see how they come out. So I'll try to fast forward through a lot of that stuff. And she's like, what are you doing? Like, I want to see them pull up to the arena. And so
Oh, oh my!
that's a
That's a
constant debate in my household. But
that's another one too. Very quick. I was gonna save this for a rainier day, but I'm happy you brought that one up too. A friend of the show, we'll just call him Booners. He is
there you
aware
go.
of my disdain for Triple H. So he sends me a post. I think WWE put it up where he's walking to the arena and they're filming him walking to the arena. And then there's a camera that's filming him walking to the arena. And he said, 2 fucking cameras to film this guy walking. And I made me think, I fast forwarded through this part on this show, but here's the thing. Lee Fitting, personally, you can say many things. Professionally, overqualified for this WWE job, did a great job with ESPN and College Game Day, etc., etc. And I know I do appreciate some of the creative shots and angles and everything that they have set up. Miles better than Kevin Dunn, who had his job before him. I appreciate the sports presentation. If I have to see one more prick walk to the arena, I'm going to jump outside my apartment because, instead of, it's always the same. Here's a drone shot covering the city, going to look at the arena. And here's 3 minutes of people walking with their luggage. And we've seen it over and over. And here's the thing. If you're doing College Game Day on ESPN or Monday Night Football, because they'll do these shots too. I mean, so many networks and leagues are guilty of this, but in prime time, take a look at football season, a Monday Night Football. There'll be a new game each week. And so you're showing them go into the arena. It's a new story to tell every single time. CM Punk walking to the arena is the same as the CM Punk who walked to the arena last week, the same CM Punk who will walk into the arena the next week. I don't need to see these pricks walk to the arena over and over and over. Give me a video package, give me pyro, give me fans with signs, give me anything that's a third of the time and not redundant. Ah,
You know what it is for me too, is it depending on obviously the character, but since wrestling is such a character driven narrative, it it kind of kills the luster when you see a guy like Penta pulling up with the mask but no makeup. And like, I don't know, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see him in street clothes. I want to, they're supposed to be these larger than life characters, and I know we've kind of gone away from that in recent years in favor of a more realistic presentation. And I get what they're trying to do, obviously, with the game. They want it to feel like sports. They want it to feel, like a primetime Super Bowl football game. But you're right, those games don't come every day. They come once a year. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's not something that I'm quite as passionate as you are there. But it's definitely something that I fast forward through, and Brooke doesn't let me because she likes to see, oh, what color is Liv Morgan's bag? And oh, that's cool. That's what's, Bailey drinks is at Starbucks. So that's the kind of stuff that gets commented on for wrestling in my household. But yeah.
airplay. And hey, I love entrances. I love entrances as much as the next guy. I just can't handle, like, Javon Evans going to this corner and this corner and that corner and that corner,
Yes.
this there and the other thing. Give me
It
your
felt
entrance.
very elongated for the
Yeah.
elimination chamber, and it normally does too. It's not a problem that's just exclusive to this chamber. It's a problem we've always gotten. Just nature of
Yeah.
the beast. So
Yeah. Anyways, I guess we should actually talk about the actual graps because, as our intro say, we like to talk about the real graps. Let's get to the wrestling here. The show opened with the women's elimination chamber match. Rhea Ripley stands alone, defeating Tiffany Stratton, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Kiana James, and Raquel Rodriguez. I gotta say, for elimination chamber, rather short. These intervals, I know they say like 5 minutes. These were like 3 minutes. I was starting to time them just because they were so brief. But Tiffany and Kiana start. It's odd because usually you want to have like the two best or two most experienced workers be in these to start things out because they're going to be in the match the longest, hypothetically. But yeah, they go with Tiffany and Kiana, the two, I guess the most, not that they're both green entirely per se, but of the six, the most green, I suppose. So Tiffany and Kiana, they start doing some choreographed moves. It's not too bad. Kiana's, I appreciate her. She's the one that's sort of using the Elimination Chamber gimmick the most, like throwing folks into the chains, into the pods, and everything. Eventually, Raquel Rodriguez comes in. She was built like a powerhouse in this match. She does some cool power spots, sending folks through the pods. Eliminates Asuka and Kiana James at the same time with like her chokeslam move, one on top of the other. She basically stacked them all up like Roman Reigns did way back in the day. Rhea and Tiffany team up to eventually eliminate Raquel. Tiffany hits her prettiest moonsault ever. I really did like the finish too. Tiffany's going for the prettiest moonsault ever. Rhea Ripley shoves her from the top rope into the Elimination Chamber pod. Eventually hits Riptide. So cool finish there. Pretty good match. Nothing too wrong with it. And yep, Rhea Ripley's going on to WrestleMania to challenge. I think I still get the two belts mixed up, but the WWE Women's Championship, not the equivalent of the World Heavyweight Championship belt, but Rhea Ripley, as it stands right now, challenging Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Ace, your thoughts on the match and the direction they're going here?
yeah, my biggest takeaways from this match, I should say, is just I got the feeling that they've really got a lot of stock in Kiana James, or at least that they think that she's going to be the next, just after the Rumble, seeing her here, great performance. I am excited. At least, I was thinking they were just gonna run Tiffany back. I'm kind of excited to see now with Rhea. And if the recent Twitter exchange is anything, it looks like we're in for something. But that's I'll leave it at that for now. But yeah, no, I think it was like a pretty good match. And I'm really happy that they went with Rhea. It's weird too to think that she's not really been in a world title scene now for a while, having worked with EO for so long, and especially when like she is, arguably the biggest star in the company, not even just the women's division. So I think it's cool to see her back where she belongs, quite frankly. We'll see how the match is with Jade. At least, I mean, right now, if maybe for the wrong reasons, there's some intrigue on a storyline level. But yeah, we'll have to see how that match goes, just with, Jade maybe not having the most experience in these kind of situations, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yep, and we do have a little portion here today to talk about what transpired Monday night on Raw, and we'll get into that a little bit more.
Yes.
But yeah, good for Rhea. I mean, is a star. I mean, like I'd say out of everyone who's like a full timer in WWE, she might be the most mainstream. I would argue because like I find take your average TikTok feed, friends who don't watch wrestling, every now and then I'll get a reel or a TikTok link of Rhea Ripley, and people like the big muscle goth mommies, guys and gals. So it seems like she always finds her way to break through. And we'll have to look at Keon James. I mean, it's not like she had the biggest run in NXT prior, but you can tell that this regime likes her. I mean, her pairing with her and Julia prior to WWE was a huge star with stardom in Japan and was, I believe, she was the women's champion at a brief point in NXT as well, and she was brought on as a big star. And Julia's the one eating the pins, so they clearly see something here in Kiana, and they kind of tried to give Raquel a little something. Like it was weird. Like this was an odd crowd in Chicago too. Like they didn't really react too much to Raquel, but they were also kind of disappointed when she got eliminated. So hopefully there's something there, but we shall see. But yeah, at least we got a path to WrestleMania. And yep,
Exactly.
yep, we got something. So moving on, girl power to open the show. The first two matches, women's matches. So hell yeah to that. AJ Lee is the new WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion. She submits Becky Lynch. So it's kind of a hometown match. AJ Lee's the wife of CM Punk, who's avid about Chicago, to put it lightly. So this is kind of like a hometown match for her in her sense. Wade Barrett had a great night on commentary, unlike Michael Cole. He said that he had a singles match more recently than AJ Lee, because I think it was just that tag team match at WrestlePalooza, and then in the War Games match. I can't say this is a bad segment per se. It's not the most exciting match, but it worked in the end. So here's the thing with AJ Lee. She hasn't had a singles match at this point, it's almost 11 years. I saw her last match before the Raw after WrestleMania in San Jose back in 2015. That was the last time she was in the ring before obviously coming back last year. We kind of saw a little bit in AEW, like Saraya, formerly known as Paige. She had to take a multi-year long absence with a neck injury. She comes back, and in the United States, at the very least, there's been great advances in women's wrestling. AJ Lee was part of that generation that started to get the ball turning a little bit more in WWE, her along with Paige and Emma. Unfortunately, and Becky has worked miracles with folks who are still coming into their own to get good matches. Maxine Dupree was probably her crowning achievement there. AJ, I guess this is just a match that was kind of, in my opinion, just find a way not to mess up. So eventually it gets to the end here. They note that Becky has had issues with the referee of the match, Jessica Carr. She's trying to take down the buckle. The ref tries to put it back on. Eventually, the referee, Jessica Carr, gets shoved into the turnbuckle. And as we know, referees in wrestling, if you get hit, you're basically made of glass once you put that referee's shirt on.
That's it, pal. Yeah.
She almost didn't sell it. She lightly sold it. So I'm like, God damn, maybe there's a match with Becky. She's handling this well. And then Becky kicks her in the head, and Jessica Carr is dead, deader than Roman Reigns' father. We'll get to that. She's like selling this for minutes and minutes on end. And so during this, AJ puts on the Black Widow, her submission move. Becky taps. The crowd in Chicago's moaning because they figured, she got her win that way. Where
visual pin. I said the exact same thing. I was like, she's not gonna.
Yeah, and hey, they got me. Eventually, Becky hits her manhandle slam, wakes up the ref. AJ kicks out, and Becky is guilty for the shocked reaction face too many times, but this one was warranted. I thought she was going to win too.
It worked. Yeah.
She tries to send AJ into the exposed turnbuckle. Jessica Carr doesn't try to put the pad back on. She's like, nope, blocks the way. And then eventually Becky goes to charge at AJ. AJ dodges. Becky goes into the exposed turnbuckle. She puts on the Black Widow, gets the submission. Crowd goes home happy. I can't say this is particularly a good match, but a good end. That was fun. It took some smoke and mirrors. I give this a thumbs up. Ace, your thoughts on this whole ordeal?
Yeah, I thought it went where it needed to go. I kind of assumed, I don't know why, for some reason, I kind of assumed that this would continue on till WrestleMania. Um, and we'd see AJ win it there, maybe in some kind of like multi-woman position. Um, I'm kind of glad they did it here now. Unfortunately, and I mean, even just coming off Raw, I'm sure we'll get to that. I think we're getting the open challenge kind of situation, which seems to be the only way they can book a mid card title now. But I think for AJ, at least it'll work because it will give her a chance to work with all these names that she's not yet, and she's had a list of it. It's funny actually that they even thinking back to a lot of that time with like Emma and Paige, and because I'm actually reading Soraya's book right now. And just I'm kind of back in that world of, hearing like just it wasn't that long ago that it was still, bikini contests um and AJ was one of the ones who definitely did lead the way for, changing that and making it, more legitimized in that sense. So seeing her come back, whether there was definitely some rust, but I mean, to be able to still work almost, yeah, 10 years now, geez. 10 years later, still at that level too. I'm sure obviously she's been training, but yeah, no, I thought, there was nothing glaring at least where I was like, oh, that was terrible, or, it was a good match. And I think it went where you needed it to go. And yeah, we'll see kind of the aftermath, I should say, with AJ now as champ. Because yeah, I don't know going into Mania, I see probably a rematch. Maybe, you put in Maxine or
That's
Natty
what
or
I'm
who,
kind of wondering
but
about AJ's story because she's been gone for 10 plus years, but she's just come back and won. What do you do afterwards?
yeah.
She's already beaten Becky after being away for 10 years, and she won rather convincingly. And
Not just that too, but like with this feud with Becky, like she has dominated her. She's tapped her out, I think, in 3 matches. You could argue four if with the second tap out last night, or on the chamber. So yeah, so like she's like come back and hastily defeated her, who's, Becky's obviously one of their biggest stars. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go from here.
mhm,
Hopefully she gets the chance to work with some talent that she really likes. I think we all kind of want to see a Bailey match at some point. There's a lot of other names, that I'll spare us from going down the list of, but yeah.
she should defend the championship in an open challenge against someone in a black hood because one trope meets the other, and the irresistible force meets the immovable object. An open challenge, and the person in a black hood should be the WWE champion at this point. They just love that trope so much. But congrats,
I think it's
AJ.
almost to the point now, real quick, sorry. I was gonna say, I think it's almost to the point now where they're doing it just to troll us because everyone's complaining about it, and they're like, fuck it, let's send out 3 of them. Because it
You're
has
giving
to
them
be
too
a
much
bit of a
credit.
rib at this point,
You're
no?
giving them too much credit, I think. You're giving them. He loves
Maybe,
that
maybe.
idea and just that one. Alrighty, moving on. So it is in Chicago. So next up, CM Punk's defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Finn Balor in a rematch from their match a few weeks ago in Finn's home country of Ireland. Uh, Speaking of as much as I buried entrances to start the show, this was a really cool entrance. So it's in the United Center. It's in Chicago, uh, famously where the Michael Jordan Dynasty Bulls played and won their 6 championships. So CM Punk's being shown walking through backstage, and they've got the Michael Jordan era Bulls music playing, like where all the players would come to the court. I think they had the original PA announcer of those great Bulls teams to introduce CM Punk. He's a 6 foot world heavyweight champion. I died at that. I laughed so hard. But yeah, he looked cool. And then obviously Cult of Personality plays, and he's milking this reaction like no tomorrow. I'm like, man, it's not his first time in Chicago, but I'm thinking, okay, he's no spring chicken. He's like 47 years old. This might be the last time that he'll be in a World Heavyweight Championship match at this stage in WWE. So in his hometown. So maybe it makes sense. Then this fucking Michael Cole guy. We were too nice to Michael Cole a couple of weeks ago because he has his good days and his bad days. We did not emphasize how bad his bad days can be. And so he takes a step further saying, CM Punk is no spring chicken. This might be his last match in Chicago. I'm like, his opponent, Finn Balor, is 44 years old. And I know CM Punk looks 47 years old and Finn Balor looks 44 years young. But I'm like, really? This might be his last match? And then I think it was Wade Barrett who said, this is CM Punk's first WWE match in Chicago since like 2013. I'm like, oh my God, CM Punk's been back in this company since 2023. And granted, there's been instances where he's appeared in Chicago for a non-wrestling purpose and he had to repair his, I think it was his tricep or his pectoral muscle or something. His injury after Royal Rumble in 2024, he was away from some time. But I'm like, how many times do you go to Chicago? Just get this guy in more matches in Chicago. And Michael Cole, be better at your job. Yeah. Ace, we'll get to the match. Ace, do you have anything?
Yeah, no, wait, it was funny, even how you kind of mentioned on this kind of being maybe the not to, steal from another Chicago. This could be the last dance for him. Um,
Hey-o.
but it's, I mean, when you think about it, other than I think the Rampage when he came back, this is probably his first time actually working in that arena too, right? Because I think when he came back in Survivor Series, that was
that was
Allstate, was it not?
Yeah, that was the All-State. So WWE,
Yeah.
because the United Center is a really expensive building to run, and so WWE will always go to like All-State in Rosemont, Illinois, in like neighborhood or like a suburb, however you want to phrase it, in the Chicago area, because they can still charge their ticket prices, fit in over 10,000, and it's a less expensive building to run in. And so CM Punk had, because he obviously returned to when he returned to wrestling in 2021 with AEW, where Rampage, the first dance, sold out. That was a segment. His last match at the United Center was the very first episode of Collision. He teamed with FDR to take on Samoa Joe, and I think it was it Jay White and Juice Robinson? Doesn't matter. But so he did have a match in that building. But considering that, they've had this guy back for 2+ years, grant some of that was an injury, and he hasn't wrestled in Chicago in those 2+ years. If it's another 2 years, he'll be 50, and maybe that will be it. Maybe you aren't too dumb, Michael Cole. Put him in more matches in Chicago. Fuck.
Again, you might be maybe giving him too much credit. But no, yeah, no, I thought it was really cool, especially the presentation for it. There's something about Alan Parsons' project that just slaps. So that was really cool. The match itself, I mean, I think it kind of went the way we all thought it was gonna. It wasn't horrible again, but it's just, it served as kind of that filler on the road to WrestleMania that unfortunately we see all the time. I mean, it wasn't bad. A lot less shenanigans than I thought there'd be as well. I thought, we'd probably see some Judgment Day. We always got to tense or, stress some tension in the Judgment Day. So I thought, maybe we'd get Dominic running out and screwing something up, but no, just clean as a whistle. Again, thanks for coming, Finn. But yeah, it was fine. Even the end, with the nice handshake and that's it. But yeah, as for the match itself, nothing to write home about. But yeah, I thought it was good. And again, it was more about the moment and him being in Chicago, AJ, obviously, the two of them winning championships there together. So yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that Chicago would be going as crazy as Ireland did for the first match, but yeah. Or maybe the crowd is just waiting for interference to come because old WWE, they've conditioned their fan base for years to be like, hey, this is a steel cage match. Nobody can get in, nobody can get out. And how many times do we see that broken? So Finn Balor's like, I want to do this on my own. I think fans were expecting some interference. And technically speaking, this probably was the best match on the show. It wasn't as good as their Ireland match. Did a good job, though. I kind of like the idea for the ending. Finn Balor's going for the coup de grace, the double foot stomp from the top rope. Punk, he's pretty clever. He sticks up his leg, and I like the idea of the spot. He sticks up his leg while Finn's coming down to try and get back up and put him in a sharpshooter. However, he's 47 years old, CM Punk. He's not a varsity athlete. He's tired. This is not the prettiest sharpshooter I've ever seen in my life. But
did he ever have the makings of one, though?
Never had the makings of a varsity athlete. He's the example of you don't need to be an athlete to be a wrestler, and a great athlete's not going to be a wrestler. CM Punk's on the non-athlete great wrestler end of this scale. Someone like Matt Morgan or Gable Steveson is on like this other end. So CM Punk tried his best, but he's old and tired. He tried. I like the idea, though. But eventually just hits the GTS and wins. Good for him. As we'll get to, a certain buddy of his debuts. He and his wife hold gold. There's not a luchador on this show. This was the pay-per-view edition of CM Punk's AEW Collision here on Netflix. So I kind of got to chuckle at myself there. But CM Punk's still the World Heavyweight Champion. Finn Balor will not defend the World Heavyweight Championship against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I'm stunned. Yeah, anything else? Anything else you want to add on, Ace, before we go to, for me, this is my main event coming up. Anything else you want to add on this before?
No, yeah. I think I covered most of my thoughts on the matter. But.
You did good. All right. So, Ace, last year, I was in a similar situation this weekend to last year. So last year, I didn't watch Elimination Chamber live. I was watching my Kamloops Blazers with my cousins, and I come back and I get a text message from my brother. He says, "Did you watch Elimination Chamber?" I say, "No." He said, "One of the best shows they've ever done." And I go to social media, and my feed is flooded with nothing but John Cena turning heel for the first time in a long time, if ever. I don't want to count the early 2000s, but anyways, similar scenario. I come back, I'm going to watch the Elimination Chamber. I did not get a text message from my brother saying that this was one of the best shows they've ever done, but my feed is full of nothing but this segment. And I laughed when I saw my phone, and then I saw the segment as it was, and it was even better than I had thought. So cold. So, of course, like previous weeks on TV, they've had this crate that says, "Do not open until the Elimination Chamber." Adam Pearce doesn't really want it. Nick Aldis doesn't really want it, but they both open it. And just cold. They just, this segment calls for the opening of the crate now. So they open this crate, and they probably knew what's coming. They're out of there ASAP as soon as this door opens. There's a casket in this crate. The door creaks open, but they have the sound effect playing over the speakers, because you're a dumb idiot that doesn't know what the sound of a casket is. And
it's very Michael Jackson Thriller.
Good way to put it. And like a Michael Jackson production, dancers come out like clowns in a car in this clown show, dressed as Donovan Danhausen. Danhausen, very nice, very evil, makes his debut. He gets the Def Rebel special for an entrance theme. "You are cursed" is slogan, and then it's just beating you over the head about who this guy is. It's like a kid's show. He comes out with his dancers. He's just pointing. There's like little blips of pyro going off. He gives Michael Cole his jar of teeth, and then he goes into the ring. The music stops. He and his dancers are out of there. And while he got an initial pop as he came out, a faint one, he comes out to crickets. And once this brief 2-minute segment in the middle of this pay-per-view is over, these United Center fans boo him out of the building. And I laughed and I laughed and I laughed, because after all these years, we heard how horrible the gobbledygooker segment was on Survivor Series decades ago, where they had this giant egg and this turkey came out of the shell, and it was mocked for years and years. And here's Danhausen coming out of this casket. with no previous introduction. This is the same company that decades ago had to tell you who WWE superstar, or probably WCW star Goldberg was before he came to WWE. And here's Danhausen, just never a vignette, nothing. Comes out to crickets, gets booed. I don't think it's a death sentence for him, but I watched this and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. You got to go out of your way. A comically bad segment. I kind of have a soft spot for comically bad stuff now. This felt like a throwback. I loved all of it.
I so I love Danhausen. I like even back before AEW had purchased ROH, I knew about him.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I'm big on character work. I've always kind of favored it more so necessarily than in ring. I like just buying into something. So whenever there's something like Otis and Mandy Rose, I'm like, sign me up. So I love Danhausen. And the sadist in me loves how bad it was for Danhausen coming out because it was just so much fun. In the same way that, you know, you could argue maybe some of the truth jokes have overstayed their welcome, but once they, throw a couple things together backstage, I'm there. Um, yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was tough too. I think they kind of set it up to fail because it's a
Mhm.
fucking crate, and like, you know, it it's not going to be
Yeah.
Chris Jericho. It's not going to be The Rock. It's not going to be Vince McMahon. It's like it's a fucking big crate. Like, so it was tough because no matter what you do, it's going to be received poorly.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, they do this big hype thing, and we get a wrestler that, let's be honest, to a lot of the audience might not even have a clue who he is.
Mhm.
Um, but you're right. I don't think it's a death sentence for him. I think his character is somebody that can kind of play off this regardless. So we'll see how it goes. I'm a little biased because I do really like Danhausen, and I think he's pretty funny. Um, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and like playing rolling with the punches, like he did that on Raw. Like he interacts backstage. Like they put him backstage on Raw. He interacts with Adam Pearce. Like he's backstage just so he's not in front of the fans. So of course that makes sense. These fans may think it's boo to cool to boo Danhausen now, and they obviously don't want that. So he says Danhausen debuted to thunderous applause or whatever he said. I'm like, okay, he's self-aware. Good for him. And I guess that's why I'm disappointed because he's mentioned he is quite the character. And here's the thing: I don't want to see Danhausen win championships and like be treated as like a legitimate wrestler because I think if you had him one on one, he would say, "I'm not that good," and he's not that good. There's a great story I read back in the day with the New York Times like 3 years ago or so where he said that while he was trained to be an indie wrestler, just starting, like his body wasn't withstanding it and he was getting hurt. So he's got this character now. It eventually worked out and he sells a ton of merch. When AW was putting him on the shelf for that contract to expire, he was still among the best sellers on Pro Wrestling Tees. So there's a market for him. And I think there's ways that he can be a entertaining part of the show, like R-Truth has been for like over a decade with his character right now. So there's something there. They just set him up to fail though, because it's a crate, as you mentioned, and he hasn't really been introduced to this audience. And this is where you do not have to hand it to him. You do not have to hand it to him. Vince McMahon knew that this audience that he trains, like, yeah, if it doesn't happen in WWE, it doesn't count. But so when you have these folks come in, you have vignettes, or even when Sting debuted. Yeah, he didn't have like vignettes, but he was going to be in a video game. And that's was kind of his way to kind of be launched to the WWE crowd. You have Danhausen, this character. You're telling me that you can't think of vignettes. And I know that his contract was, I think it expired the night before the show. So technically, he couldn't be in like any vignettes or anything. So save them for later. You can't tell me that you can't think of like a 4-week, 4-show build of vignettes with Danhausen and then debut him in a silly way. Like when he debuted in AEW, Adam Cole was in a match with Orange Cassidy. He's pulling the chair from underneath the ring and he's in a little tug of war. And who comes on the other end of this chair and curses him? It's Danhausen. And it was great because it's a surprise. Why did you just have to have this be a surprise and then hype it up to an audience that doesn't know him when you have the option to have weeks of vignettes to highlight his characters and to make people laugh and gravitate towards him? I feel bad. He was absolutely set to fail here, but if you can't laugh at yourself, you can't laugh at anyone else. Lord knows we'll laugh at ourselves constantly. I laughed at this so much. It was so
Right.
bad. I would watch it. I've watched it so many times. It's on
You know
Saturday.
what's crazy about it too is like he's already, narratively at least like leaving consequences in the WWE with, cursing Dominic Mysterio and then boom, Penta wins the title, what, an hour later, not even.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's tough because you're right. I think people will be like, "Oh, this is the fun thing to boo here," but I do think after enough time, people are going to go like, he's just a funny dude. And again, he's not he's never going to be your world champ guy, but there's tons of room for somebody like him on the roster. And yeah, I think he's going to be a great addition. It's too bad that obviously they've been waiting for his contract for a while. So yeah, no, again, I feel like I am pretty biased. Obviously, I do really like him, but I wish him the best, and I hope he does well here. And yeah,
Fingers are crossed. So on to the main event. So in the men's elimination chamber match, this is one where it's like, hey, they got us, and while I may have not liked the process to get there, I think this is pretty good booking at the end. Randy Orton wins the men's elimination chamber match, defeating LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Javon Evans, or Javon Williams, as old Mark Nash called him during his reign introduction.
oh, I
Uh,
missed that.
oh, okay, yeah. There's two black people in the main event. It's one too many for Mark Nash to try and separate and keep track
Oh, I
of.
didn't even think we're Trick Williams. I just thought it was just a flub, right?
Oh god, yeah. So Javon Evans, along with Trick Williams and Logan Paul. This left me like I like the booking here in the end, but it's part of a grander problem in WWE and relying on interference and the dreaded men in hoods and also the process of getting there. So I'll just cut to some of the chase. Here's the thing. So Logan Paul was not supposed to be in this Elimination Chamber match. First, Jey Uso was, but of course, Jey Uso wasn't supposed to be in that match because Bronson Reed, who was probably supposed to be in for Braun Breaker, got hurt, and so Jey Uso had to win a match accidentally. So they wrote him out of the match on SmackDown. Logan Paul wins the match and goes in, and so Logan Paul gets the Bronson Reed Braun Breaker treatment, where Logan Paul eliminates three people in this elimination chamber. And at first, when he eliminates Javon, I'm like, wow, are they setting up Javon and Logan Paul at WrestleMania? But then he eliminates Trick and LA Knight. I'm like, okay, I know nobody could predict Bronson Reed's injury. I get it. You can't have Logan Paul eliminate three people in a match and not have a payoff for those folks anytime soon. You just brought up Javon and Trick. I understand they gave up on LA Knight. He's toast. He's warm, buttery toast. You've got something with Javon and Trick, and they lost to Logan Paul.
It's
Ace.
tough because you could tell that no matter the cost, they wanted to tell narratively a story of the Vision dominating until Seth Rollins, and whether that was originally Bronson or Braun Breaker, and then they switched to Bronson Reed, or it was going to be Bronson Reed, and then they had to switch to Logan Paul. You could tell right off the bat that when they were mapping this story out, they said, "Okay, we want the Vision to dominate. Seth comes back, rah rah rah," and that was the story they wanted to tell. And
Yeah, so you got
I've come around on Logan, but it's just that's not the spot for him. That's just,
no, and here's the thing: Logan Paul was not in this group when Seth Rollins got injured and then taken out. That's the
that's the other
thing.
part. Yeah, I didn't even think of that part. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. So I want to. I'm gonna get burned for this. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're banking on Braun Breaker being ready for WrestleMania, but as it stands right now, it's Seth Rollins trying to get revenge on the Vision, which I don't care about now after a segment on Raw that we'll get to. But Seth Rollins and Logan Paul seems to be the play. They did this match 3 years ago. And it's after Logan Paul eliminates three people. I was flabbergasted. Completely flabbergasted. maybe Danhausen. You see, if Danhausen on Raw should have cursed the Vision, and all of this would have made sense. What a
I think you
messy
I think
storyline.
you could argue that before Danhausen even came to WWE that he cursed the Vision because man, they've been eating some fucking like oh buddy, like they just can't stay healthy. Like it's oh
You need to do like a segment where like there's a dream sequence or something where it's like and it's all blurry, and then Danhausen's like you could just put the day in the corner like July 2025 or whatever, and Danhausen curses the Vision on his TV screen. If they do that, they'll win a little bit more of a spot in my heart. I
there
want
you
to see
go.
him pull that off. But so afterwards, of course, the final two, it's down to, or I guess we should get to the big part of the match here. So first, the future world champ, the hooded guy, comes in to interfere, and then the security takes him away. And just like before, it's just some guy. WCW in the dying days of Nitro and Thunder did this where they just had a bunch of folks or plants disguised as fans crash the ring, and then fans were eventually crashing the ring for realsies. Nip this in the butt while you can. Just stop it with like the random Joe Blows being under the hood. If it's Jacob Fatu or Seth Rollins, whatever. But eventually, a second hooded figure comes back, and it's Seth Rollins. He kicks and curb stomps Logan Paul. He's out. So, yep, welcome back, Seth. He did get a good pop, though. And so it's down to Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. Drew McIntyre, the third interference in this match in like 3 or 4 minutes. He attacks Cody. Orton hits Drew with an RKO. Cody hits a crossroads, but in that split second, Randy Orton hits Cody Rhodes with the RKO and gets the win. So as it stands right now, it's Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship against Randy Orton at WrestleMania. However, after the show, Nick Aldis said that Cody will be challenging Drew for the WWE Championship on this Friday's SmackDown. Whether that means it'll be a three-way, or maybe it's Cody and Randy, or you have Jacob Fatu, or maybe Sami Zayn involved. I don't know. There's a lot of ways they can go. Some of them are logical. Some of them are kind of illogical. But yeah, Randy Orton is at least going to be challenging for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Who and who else? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I like so not to steal from another I like a pivot when you need to.
Yeah,
Um because something wasn't working, obviously, with Cody and Drew running it back. There is a few different ways we can go with this. And I thought the surprise was really good too with Orton winning in the end because I mean we were saying for weeks it was Cody's to lose. So yeah, I think it was really cool to do something that they knew, okay, this isn't working. Let's figure it out. Now that being said, you're right. There is a few ways they can go with this because with Cody and Drew fighting this week on SmackDown, we can either get that triple threat, we can get a fatal four way maybe with Jacob. I don't think it's happening, but we could, in theory, get Drew and Randy. Um, or maybe we just get Cody and Orton, and Randy turns heel and beats the shit out of them afterwards. But what I like about this is at least you're not watching SmackDown being like, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. At the very least, there's a couple different things they could do, a couple different ways they could go. Um, so that I really like. And we'll see obviously how SmackDown plays out this week. Personally, I'm pulling, it's weird because usually I wouldn't be pulling for a multi-man fatal four-way match, but I just feel like, Fatu's been so integral to this story. And as a guy, I would like to see in that main event shine, especially at WrestleMania. Um, and I think that multi-man match is kind of the only way he does get it. But also like, maybe other than Drew and Randy, there's not really a match I wouldn't want to see on this because Cody wins the title, Orton turns heel. They'd have a great program that's, easy history too to kind of play off of. But yeah, personally, I'm pulling for, which is again crazy to say, but I'm pulling for some more shenanigans on Friday where maybe Fatu runs out, maybe Randy runs out, and then, they say, that's it. Nick Aldis comes down pissed and says, hey, you mother. Um, but yeah, that's all things considered, I thought the ending, while the chamber match itself was questionable in the booking decisions, I think Randy Orton was the right winner, and now it sets up a lot more for Mania and gives us a bit more intrigue leading into SmackDown.
I'll preface this by saying I would not want to be in the position of having Drew McIntyre in this point in time being the champion going into Mania. I would not want to have a multi-man championship match after a multi-man elimination chamber. That being said, I will not be a hypocrite. For as long as Cup Check Wrestling has existed, I've been saying Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre cannot be the play. And I'm happy there is at least a bit of a pivot. And whether this includes Orton or Jacob, my taste, at least for my palate, I think they missed the peak of Cody and Randy, because in 2024, Orton was looking at this belt and hinting about like, oh man, I might down the road turn on Cody. That was in 2024. I'm done with that. You had your chance. I'm over that. But a multi-man...
Well, that's just the WWE way too. It's just...
It is. We've gone too much into the other direction. Like, yeah, like I talked about my athlete, not an athlete, wrestler, not a wrestler scale. We've got Vince McMahon in 2019 tearing up the script for Raw every week. And we got whatever WWE's doing now. There should be a nice medium somewhere in between. And yeah, we'll see what happens. So for me, Orton and Cody, maybe they have an angle and they could heat up. Who knows? But it feels like we're due for a multi-man. It's better than Cody and Drew solo, but we'll see what happens. I hope, as you mentioned, like one thing that I think I can sink my teeth into, and I think what a lot of fans can sink their teeth into, because I think you need Cody involved. He's still the star, and despite online complaints or maybe the initial boos he gets at his entrance, this guy still gets a reaction and a positive reaction at the end of the day. So I think you still need your top draw in a big match, especially when you're still trying to sell thousands of more WrestleMania tickets at a high price. You need Cody in there. You need your star. But Jacob is something that the fans haven't seen at that kind of a top level. I think you need his involvement somehow, some way. So we got a big SmackDown. So we'll see what happens there. Should be a lot of fun, though. Anything else on Elimination Chamber before we go to Rise?
No, yeah, I was gonna say I think that pretty much puts a bow on her.
There we go. Bonner, I hardly know her. That got you? Really? That one did?
Yeah, I don't know, yeah. It doesn't take much for me. So.
I'll be sure to tell Brooke it does not take much for him.
There you go. It's always something, and it doesn't take much.
I'm gonna get those. I'm not a tattoo guy, but I'll get those on my forearms. It's always something. Doesn't take
no
much.
regrets.
Hell yeah, brother. All right, going to Raw now. So it was a newsworthy week for WWE. Not gonna lie, looking at this Raw now. I mean, depending on what the lead is, it feels like it's a coin toss for what the lead coming out of Raw is. But we'll start with what closed the show. CM Punk and Roman Reigns have another face-to-face. That is the main event of WrestleMania in Las Vegas. As in a lot of mixed reviews on this one. There's some stuff on this promo I kind of liked, stuff I didn't like. But basically how it goes is Punk interrupts Roman. Roman alludes that, you didn't like my tweet on Saturday where he said something along the lines of, I don't know, it looks more tired, Punk or this crowd. And so he says, you're kind of sensitive. And then Punk, the joke of the year, saying that he doesn't hold grudges. That killed me. Yeah, CM Punk, Phil Brooks does not hold grudges.
Very well known for being demure and professional.
Nobody can brush it off more than Phil Brooks, the man, and CM Punk, the character.
Do you think it was self-aware, or do you think it was just like totally? Because I thought it was like, to me, it played like a joke.
I think he's at peace now. Maybe he's accepted his lot in life. I like to think he is that delusional deep down. I like to think of him that much of a narcissist deep down. But continuing on, so eventually it's a little bit more of a back and forth. The Raw was in Indianapolis, where the Shield famously debuted, and the Shield famously broke up when Seth Rollins hit Roman Reigns in the back with his Shield chair. As Michael Cole once said it, that guy sucks. Michael Cole, every now and then. Did they ever tell you that? But anyways, it's a back and forth. CM Punk is trying to keep this more within the last few years. He's saying, and I guess this is where my issues is, alluding to again how CM Punk pitched to have the Shield work with him way back in 2012, and then the infamous Colt Cabana podcast in 2014. We've gone over it before, almost right when Cup Check Wrestling began. Now that I think about it, won't go into the lore too much there. But I'm happy Punk left a little bit more of that left that a little bit more behind, focusing more on what happened within the last few years. Like, oh, where's your wise man? Where's your cousins? And I thought this is a pretty good performance by Punk. Roman still sticking on the talking points where I feel like I've heard the same talking points from Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins saying, oh, we brought you back here to sell some t-shirts. All I hear is people complain about you, just how difficult you are backstage, because CM Punk and every feud CM Punk has to have apparently has to result in you run me way back when. So I don't know. And then it all ended to CM Punk pulling out his inner Christian Cage and saying that he's going to bury Roman Reigns next to his father, the late Sika of the Wild Samoans, passed away a couple of years ago. But your father's dead. He went full Christian Cage. Ace, I don't know if I'm more excited for this match or less excited than I was during their first promo a month or so ago. Some stuff I liked here, some stuff I really could not care for. How did you make of this? Are you more excited to see this match now?
You just know that poor Larry's getting name dropped next week, and that's gonna be just vile. No,
Larry's
I'm
not
so
up here in
excited.
heaven. Larry's not up here in heaven. He's down there
Down there.
in hell. Roman's gonna feed
Uh,
Larry's corpse to CM Punk like
oh, I didn't think of that one.
Big
Yeah.
Show. Sorry, I'm
It was
sorry.
funny. Oh, no. I can't remember if you sent it to me or somebody else sent it to me, but even I think we talked about this before, and even kind of alluding to you saying about every storyline with Punk is like from, you know, something that someone he wronged 10 years ago. And it was the clip of, or it was a clip. It was a tweet of Roman and sorry, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And it, the equivalent would be, them going into WrestleMania 15 being like, don't forget, I remember what you said on Carson in 1987, right? Like, when I put that timeline together, I was like, damn, that is like actually a really long time ago. I think we even prefaced it when we talked about it back, that there's a lot of wrestling fans now that probably have no idea about the Colt Cabana podcast.
No, your dad's dead.
But
What? I said your dad died years ago. What?
that was the one. That was the one. Yeah.
Yes, Steve Austin, The
Um,
Rock. Fuck. Keep going. Sorry.
but yeah, no. Yeah, that's I because I'm a bit older and because I know the lore to it, that stuff does pull me in. And I'm like, oh, they are touching on that, and um, so yeah, so I thought it was really good. I will say, as funny as Dead Fathers are, and they are funny. They're very funny. It did feel,
You might need some
did
more
feel
pretext here.
yeah, it did feel kind of out of nowhere. I don't know, like I get obviously they want to make it personal, want to, and I'm sure obviously Roman signed off on it. But yeah, it just felt very like, oh,
It was
um,
out
yeah,
of place for this CM Punk, but you know what? We talk about how old we
big
are
of
and
a
how
prick.
death
Is
is
it that
ended.
out of place?
Back in 2013, one of my favorite editions of CM Punk was his feud with The Undertaker going into that year's WrestleMania. And Paul Bearer dies in real life. William Moody, I think his name is. He passes away in real life. And so, of course, it's in the middle of this feud. Undertaker in character, but also kind of paying a tribute on Raw. And they have the graphic up of Paul Bearer with his real name, birth year, death year on the Jumbotron. And Punk comes out and he says, I'm sorry for your loss at WrestleMania. And then he just plays with the urn of Paul Bearer that allegedly has Paul Bearer's ashes. He
Undoubtedly
plays
a
with that
bar.
for the next month. It's like, God damn it, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. So that kind of felt like the punker I knew and loved. But
That's
with
true.
this CM Punk who's asking, is that a good time to be in Indianapolis or hustle, loyalty, respect, or whatever the fuck he's saying now? It does feel a little out of place, but it popped me. I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh going into this, but I don't know. There's still something there. I think this is the biggest match they can offer. I think there is something there. Maybe there's more promo material. I do think that they need a brawl at some point. We got too much time between now and Mania, but what are you hoping to see next from these two? Because this needs to evolve a little bit more now.
Yeah, I don't know if we have I'm sure we could probably pull it up if we do, but the dates for when Roman's going to be around now. Because unfortunately, I think we're going to get to a point where it's Punk kind of carrying a lot of this feud on his own for a bit, and
I
it's
think
tough because
Roman's
especially
supposed to
after
be
a
back.
line.
I think he's supposed
Is
to
he
be
supposed to
back
be back?
every Raw. I need to go over the schedule, but
Okay.
I think he is like he was off basically all of February, but then they advertised that he wasn't going to be on these shows. And then I think he's supposed to be back every week up until WrestleMania. So
Okay.
fingers are crossed he's around. But sorry to cut you off there.
Right.
But
Well, we'll have is there a European tour in there at some point too? Because I know usually they'll do all the dates for those.
I don't know if it's the European tour. I know there's still a few
Yeah.
state shows going in. I think the European tour is beginning in later in the spring. I'll
Okay.
try and get the schedule up here a middle of while we're talking. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think Roman should be back every week for the next couple of weeks here. And
Yeah. But you
yeah,
are
that's not
right
kind
in
of feel
that
bad for
case then
Punk.
there should definitely be a brawl. It shouldn't just be yapping 24/7.
Mhm.
And I'm sure we'll get something a little different. I can't imagine Roman's working a match, but I'm sure Punk will at some point, and whether that be, I guess probably not the Usos. But there'll be somebody close to Roman, I'm sure, that he works on a Raw. And but you're right. I think we need to see a little bit more physicality. Everybody's favorite segment too. I want to see them fighting with Adam Pearce sending security out. That's not going to do it. So they send the locker room out, and it's one of those. Oh, they're still on the roster. Cool. And Roman throws some luchador out of the ring, and Punk elbows. I want one of those at least. What are we doing? Michael Cole's
CM Punk's
losing
in
his mind. And
CM Punk's in that segment. There can't be a luchador though. That's the rule. As
there
long
you
as
go.
he has his way. But yeah, okay. So I got the schedule here. The next
Oh,
couple
good.
advertised dates for Roman Reigns. I want to say, as much as I love to pick on old Pepsi Man CM Punk, there, I do feel bad. He's just got a dance partner at WrestleMania, and he just hasn't had his dance partner over the last month. That sucks, and it puts him in a bad position. So to be a fly on the wall, if Punk has to lose at WrestleMania to be a fly on the wall, I feel like that might be a throwback to 2013 if they're wanting to go back in time. I want to be around for that. I hope the
He
Unreal
walks out again for another
cameras.
10 years because he has to put over. Oh, who's going to be
Oh,
there on Monday? Huh? Well,
yep.
you, of course. Like,
Let's go. Time is a flat circle. Get those Unreal cameras going unedited. I'll be fully supportive of that if that's the case. All right. So Roman is not advertised for this upcoming Raw. His next appearance is a week from Monday, March 16th in San Antonio. And then he's appearing on March 23rd, 30th, taking another week off afterwards.
he's
There's
earned it.
always something, And then,
Maybe he's got a root canal.
yep, perhaps, or maybe he's in play, quite frankly. I know he wants to be an actor.
Hey, you never know.
But then he's on the Go Home Raw on April 13th in Sacramento. And then he is advertised for WrestleMania. I do hope he shows up for that one. So, yeah, he's got 2 absences from now until WrestleMania. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we need to get the brawl. We need more promos. We need it all. Moving on. Granted, this isn't the lead, but I need to talk about this while my hatred was still at a good high for the most part. So Raw opens the show with a Vision promo segment. Seth Rollins is back, of course. They're pretty much saying up Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul if Braun Breaker's not good to go. Seth Rollins, he attacks the Vision. And so here's the thing. The Vision, it's the Paul Heyman family. Paul Heyman is the main character of the Vision. He's just not a wrestler. Paul Heyman was the antagonist of the first night of main event of the first night of WrestleMania, the main event last year in the 3-way with CM Punk and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman's the antagonist, the one who turns on Punk and Roman, aligns with Seth. He's the central figure in this all. So on this show, Seth Rollins hits Paul Heyman with the Shield chair, where the Shield formed, and then Seth Rollins hits a curb stomp on Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman's got a bloody nose and everything. Buy your tickets to WrestleMania today. They just paid off this feud. Seth got his revenge. Go home. What?
Selfishly, I was a little upset that again, he's not much of an athlete, but that Heyman didn't at least try to do the rope thing. Um,
This is like right in the middle of the ring. He wasn't crawling that far.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, but again, I guess you could argue that now it's pivoting to Logan, right? Because like you said, Logan was the one who wronged him in the division. Um, if okay, let's say for instance, Braun is coming back. Maybe he's not ready just yet, but let's say debatable or for argument's sake, 2 weeks from now you have Heyman come back all bandaged, put him in a neck brace, even though he got hit in the back. That's always funny. Um, and then he six Braun Breaker on a guy like Seth. Cool. I think that still works. If it's somebody like Logan, though, you're right, because he's gotten his revenge. And also, Logan came in after he was already taken out. So, I mean, I guess you could argue that, like, oh, he was my replacement, but it's not like Seth wants back in the vision. Yeah, I don't know. We're thinking more about it than I feel like they are. To be fair, though, they're trying to make this work, you know, never mind whatever fucking Danhausen curses on the vision, because holy shit. Um, yeah, it's just from fucking the jump. It has just been bad business for him. And it's tough. You got to eat it. You roll with the punches. It is what it is. But man, they've had a string of bad luck.
Yep, there's a crisis basically in the company of lower WrestleMania ticket sales. Like, yeah, just under 40,000. It's such a bad job for WrestleMania, but they're panicking. Geez, I wonder what's leading to such poor ticket sales outside of, everything we talked about previously on this pod. But yeah, I still think this all could have been avoided if you didn't have Braun Breaker turn on Seth as Seth was getting injured. You could have avoided some of this, but hindsight is 2020. You can't count for Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed getting injured. So what can you do? So this is probably the second lead, honestly, from Raw and probably through the weekend. So it's Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill at this point for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania. So Rhea comes out. Her and Io Sky, they kind of split for now. The SmackDown going into Elimination Chamber, they pulled Io from their tag team title defense against Lash legend Nia Jax. Rhea Ripley gets pinned. We got new women's tag team champions with Nia Jax and Lash legend. I thought Rhea wasn't going to lose 2 nights in a row, so that was a good guess on my part there. But basically, Rhea says she's going to SmackDown to go face to face with Jade, and most of the stuff leading to this feud happened on social media the day or two prior. I got takes on it. Ace, can you kind of go into what transpired for our audience? It felt like there's a lot.
Yeah, it got weird, and I don't know if in a good way, which it's kind of funny because obviously with this championship last year, we saw the lines get a little blurred in the name of Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. Um, what sucks, and I know it is just kind of how it is nowadays. It's so hard to know, like, if this is just another Unreal thing. Is this, because it very well could be. And unfortunately, given the work shoot nature of this fucking crazy world we call wrestling, you almost, if you know that, oh, this isn't the storyline, they actually don't like each other, it actually hypes up the storyline, which is so backwards.
Mm.
But it fucking that's the world we live in. I
Yeah,
remember, this is a bit of a tangent real quick, but I remember when I went back as a kid and I was watching old wrestling, and I got to 2000 WCW, which I'm sure we'll get to someday. There was a bit where Goldberg was mad at Kevin Nash because he booked him to lose his world title and end his streak. So Goldberg, to get revenge on him for booking him to lose, wanted to beat him in a match. And I thought, like, what? That's the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. Um, Unfortunately, in this Unreal world now, we're getting dangerously close to that. Because
mm-hmm.
it's like there's always that ability to see something like this, and then 8 months from now, I have to hear Michael P.S. Hayes's take on it, and I go, oh, I don't want to hear his take on it, but I have to anyways. And he's gonna go, Jade's got to realize she's got to learn how to play ball. And so, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it felt just uncomfortable to me. Like I wasn't even one of those like, oh, that's sick. And then like Chelsea Green's jumping in, and you're like, oh, like this is like I just felt uncomfortable. I don't know about you, but I felt very like, oh, this is kind of sloppy. I don't, yeah.
I was annoyed. And here's the thing. I love me a good I can be okay with a work shoot or okay with like real animosity. One of my favorite storylines ever was WWE's Summer of Punk. I love the pipe bomb. I love that whole summer build. Way back when fans knew of like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart's real animosity in 1997, I think that level of hatred can add to it. Or when you're watching Ace, Edge and Matt Hardy, like that added to that quite a bit too. But here's the thing, and this is why Unreal, and it's because Triple H likes it because he's always been he was part of the curtain call back in '96 where he and Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash and Razor Ramon kind of broke kayfabe, even though kayfabe was dead for ages prior. When they walked out heels and baby faces together in the ring at the same time. So he's kind of always had this wink, wink, nudge, nudge admiration. But the existence of this Unreal show, and we talked about the Vision's curse and how this could be karma for trying to work the boys and fake Seth Rollins' injury. Because of that being a crutch, if, say, something is actually happening, they can always say, we're trying to work the folks. Or it could all just be a storyline for this show that nobody really likes within WWE. And it feels like you're almost booking more for Unreal than you're booking for your actual show. I mean, last year was pretty good, because Charlotte Flair was actually big leaguing Tiffany in some segments. Tiffany tried to get some receipts in. And say what you will, I didn't like the match last year, but the crowd was more invested into the match because they wanted to see Tiffany stick it to Charlotte per se. And they were able to make business work, and that's great. Here, you got on social media, Rhea Ripley basically accusing Jade Cargill of not knowing how to work, not really being good in the ring, and not being able to last a long time. And you got Jade accusing Rhea of politicking. And there's a report, and so here's the thing: there's mixed reports out there. I mean, who knows what's true? But with Jade, here's the thing. So there was an incident like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago or so. Jade Cargill and Shayna Baszler got into an incident backstage where basically, I guess, Jade had an injury on her elbow or something and basically accused Shayna Baszler of not knowing how to work. I guess Shayna responded along the lines of, if I was shooting, you would feel it, because she is a former MMA fighter. So I'm aware that it's within the realm of possibility that Jade could go off on social media and get herself into hot water, and then folks are taking liberties like Rhea's trying to get her receipts. But the thing that sticks out to me is Chelsea Green and Piper Niven getting in there, because if this was actually happening, they would be told to delete that. They'd be told, no, you don't do this. We're not making a bigger thing out of it. So it's within the realm of possibility. To me, it feels like something that could be based off real conversations or real feelings, but it's part of this age where, and we're seeing with the same story with CM Punk and Roman Reigns too, trying to talk about real backstage politics in your storyline. Drew McIntyre doing the same thing in a sense. It's too much. Like, you got to have different options. Sometimes you just got to be able to sell a match. Sometimes you can have these kind of stories. And really, the existence of Unreal and having that be a crutch as a way to say, it's all part of the extra grand scheme to really fool the fans, make sure they not know what's going on. And I'm just exhausted by it. It's far too much. And it just makes me want to tune out, because I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want to be like, I don't want to be worked. Like, I don't want to be double worked or being thought that I don't want to have it seem like I'm being worked 4 layers deep. I'm just kind of done with this trope being used over and over and over, if it is a trope.
What also kind of wears down the luster of it. Like, the most famous example, the CM Punk pipe bomb in 2011, when he aired his grievances, and the rest is history. That made him just catapulted him to the next level. Because at that time, you didn't see that kind of stuff. if CM Punk, obviously, but if somebody does that CM Punk promo today, that's not even newsworthy almost. Like, it's just that was the perfect storm because that kind of stuff never happens. So the more you go to that well, like anything, people get desensitized to it. No, it's, you join the show, it's all part of the show. And yeah, so I don't know. The more you go to that well, it's just naturally it's going to desensitize people to it, and it's not going to mean as much when it happens. Um, that being said, I kind of just to play contrarian. I don't know, because of the sloppiness to me, it felt unscripted. But regardless whether it was scripted or unscripted, I'm sure we'll get it scripted in Unreal at some point. Um,
As
but yeah,
always,
I don't know where I sit for it. If it hypes me up more, I don't know about that. Because like I said, it felt awkward. This one, yeah, I don't know.
yeah, and like even before the pipe bomb, like, you know, go back to like Vince saying Brett screwed Brett in '97, or the early editions of Bite This Online, the early 2000s. Granted, that was a WWE.com thing, but it was basically where Stone Cold Steve Austin was allowed to give his grievances on creative in 2002 on WWE.com. And then after he walked out, Vince did the Steve Austin took his ball and went home. So it's been out there before. Uh, but yeah, it's just never been more in your face. And then you have like another promoted avenue where it feels like they're booking the sausage making rather than the sausage. And at some point, the lines get too blurred or it gets so overwhelming. It's just like, I don't really care about this too much anymore. I did like this though over the other women's championship segment. So Liv Morgan has a hype video. It's like 2 minutes or so. It's kind of going on to what happened last week, how Stephanie Vicaire is accusing Liv just not really going through the grind to make it to this stage, and Liv cried during the interview. So this week, Liv has like a 2 minute or so promo saying that, yeah, she was right. She was able to be signed at WWE when she was 20. And I just want to get this quote exactly right, just because to me, I don't know if this is Liv's choice of words. I don't know if this was the line. Either way, this was just insane verbiage. But basically, God, where is it? But I'll paraphrase. I'll get the exact quote here in just a second. But basically, paraphrase. She's saying that like she was able to make it to WWE at age 20, while Stephanie Vicaire came from mud huts and wrestled in flea infested rains. And Stephanie Vicaire of Chilean descent, had kind of gone over the Indies all over the place before having a good lengthy stay at CMLL. A lot of fans just called this for what it was, kind of racist bullshit. Personally, I hate this shit. Like, do not lower yourselves to this. You can sell a match a better way. And I get there's a lot of old folks at WWE that, back in the 80s or 90s, this is what you could do. Nobody would bat an eye. I'm not sure if this kind of aligns with like what Liv views. Hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, I hated this. I really did hate this. And yeah, I don't know. How'd you perceive this segment? Am I making a mountain out of a molehill? But like this did not stick right with me.
What was funny was when I first saw the clip, I didn't really think about it too much. But then after kind of thinking a little more and seeing some tweets, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I don't know. It's tough because you could have just said shit indies without, like there's a
Yeah.
lot of other ways you could have phrased that. I'm not gonna blame Liv, I don't think, because I could be wrong, but knowing the regime in WWE, it's like word for word, say this, hit this cue, look at that. There's not really much room anymore to, hey, you got 10 minutes, kid, go out there and sell WrestleMania. It's say this, especially for a backstage vignette. I guarantee you that was, word for word in the script. Um, so not that it, makes it any better or worse. But yeah, just a very in the best of cases, tone deaf, and in the worst of cases, pretty offensive.
Yeah. And you're right. Just look at, I hate to say it, look at Unreal. these matches, these segments, there's so much that's overproduced in WWE nowadays. So the exact quote was, I'm sorry I got signed to WWE when I was 20 years old and you got rejected your first tryout. I'm sorry I had the best of the best while you grew up in a mud hut wrestling in flea infested rings for 10 years. Wild to me. I saw some fans like, here's the thing. I don't know. People said WWE is calling Arena Mexico CMLL a flea infested ring. Uh, I don't know if that was the case because like Stephanie Vickers was at CMLL for about 8 years prior. She began wrestling at a young age in like 2019. I think she's on like the indies from like say 09 to 2019. I'm sure a writer or someone just went to Stephanie Vickers' Wikipedia page and just saw that 10-year window or whatever and said, yeah, okay, you were doing this for 10 years. But either way, yeah, it just, I do not like, it just does not stick with me in the year of our Lord 2026 to call someone who is not from like say Western Commonwealth nation to say that they've been living in a mud hut and they're wrestling in flea infested rings in Mexico when look, there's shady independent businesses all over the world, not just in places where English isn't the primary language. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully this
You
doesn't put
could
a cloud on their match, but hopefully there's less of this shit going forward. Go ahead, sorry, Ace.
you could make an argument too, not that I'm necessarily subscribing to it, but maybe it was a knock against CMLL. Regardless, that's still it, we live in an age where everything's under a microscope, and quite frankly, no pun intended, they should know better. And knowing how things get perceived, um, yeah, they should have known better. And
Mhm.
that's kind of probably what we should leave it at, and hope that it steers itself into a better direction going forward.
Fingers crossed. And other than this is also unfortunately other big notes of the show. Kind of a yay or nay situation if you're a fan of Lucha Libre or Luchadors. Let's get with the nay first. Gunther. He defeats Dragon Lee in pretty good match. Chokes out Dragon Lee. The one spot that also generated a lot of critiques was Gunther pulls off the mask of Dragon Lee, and basically the rule in Lucha Libre is you do not unmask your opponent unless it's like a mask match, because if you take off someone's mask in the middle of a match, it's instant disqualification. And if you want to know a little bit more about the ins and outs and like I guess the norms of Lucha Libre compared to like Western professional wrestling, Rob Viper on Twitter is a good follow, as is Lucha Blog. But Rob Viper, because it was Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful. So basically Gunther unmasks Dragon Lee, puts him in a rear naked choke right afterwards. So it's not really in a position where Dragon Lee is able to cover his face after being unmasked. So WWE just showed Dragon Lee's face for the world to have. Sean Ross Sapp freeze frames it, posts it, says they showed it. However, if say a mask were to accidentally fall off in the middle of a match, replays would be shown, whether it's CMLO or somewhere else in Mexico, either a different angle, or folks who were working for the press and taking pictures, their face would be blurred out or digitally altered to not show, to not publish someone unmasked if it wasn't supposed to happen. So WWE kind of dropped the ball, just putting, first of all, it just sucks that Gunther and Dragon Lee are just in the spot where Dragon Lee needs to be unmasked and then put in a chokehold. How do you hide your face? But they unmasked Dragon Lee. I don't know what else you can really do with Dragon Lee at this point, other than maybe, I don't know, can still be a draw in AAA because it's already been such an uphill battle with him on the main roster. And I don't think he's getting his comeuppance against old Gunther there. And he got unmasked. I don't know. Feel bad for Dragon Lee, but also no idea what the hell Gunther, the guy who retired John Cena and AJ Styles, is going to do at WrestleMania. Ace, this left me puzzled. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we'll see, because I don't see him answering the Lesnar challenge. I don't think, unfortunately. I think we got a little bit more with Lesnar before he hangs him up. Obviously, we're not doing the Randy Orton legend killer route. Um, Off topic, but it was such an easy slam dunk to just do Cody Gunther
Mhm.
because Gunther could either win, you could even fucking have Cody avenge his friend, and then like it just to me it felt inevitable. Gunther, and he was kind of going through the motions there for a bit of trying to after winning the championship, trying to right his losses, right? Like, he had lost to Chad Gable. He had to beat him. He had to beat Sammy. He had to, and Cody Rhodes is one of those with the Crown Jewel Championship from a couple of years ago. And again, yeah, it was such a slam dunk, I think, to run that match. If nothing else from that photo of fucking Cody just, like fucking Rocky Balboa waiting in the wings of John Cena's shoes and his, fucking armbands, and just Cody going, no, 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 brother, that's not going to work for me. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, there should be more of an outline. And unfortunately, I think they sort of view Gunther as above the championship. So I don't see him sniffing gold anytime soon. He's just going to, because they're like, well, he's the attraction now. He doesn't need the belt. So they're just going to have him keep working, other baby faces, which I guess, but he needs some kind of direction, some kind of goal, some kind of, what's the North Star of this, right? Like what are we building to? Um, the only thing I will say, I mean, maybe you could make the argument with, what happens with Dragon Lee now, but hopefully he's not just in the retirement gimmick where he's got to just, well, every time somebody faces him now they have to retire. Because I kind of felt like that was where they were going with it. Um, but we'll see. I don't have a lot of faith that they'll continue up in a way that they probably should. Um, I mean, he tapped out John Cena, and it's crazy to think he doesn't have a direction. And yeah, whatever. That's
Yeah.
a bit off topic.
Because
But as
because
for
they
the
don't have a
match,
direction.
yeah,
They didn't have to make John Cena give up. He should have won his last match. But he's got
well,
to do business on the way out because yeah, he's gonna go to AEW next month, so he needs to put somebody over. What a crock of
how,
shit. And it
how
showed.
funny would that have been? How funny would that have been if instead of AJ we got a Cena and Omega at All In?
Oh my god, they would have packed Wembley. You wouldn't need a turnstile count for that one. Everyone be in the building for
Yeah.
that, brother. Oh my god. Yep. All right. And finally, Anna, this is my last big note of Raw. Pretty newsworthy show. While Dragon Lee appears to be toast, warm buttery toast, on the flip side, Penta seems to be back on track. He defeats Dominic Mysterio. He's the new Intercontinental Champion. Good for Penta. Honestly, it felt like they had something to start early last year. He comes in, his presentation's out of this world. Fans love chanting Zero Miedo. He's working as hard as he has in years and years. He's getting over. And then El Grande Americano comes in, and WWE fans just want to cheer for the ironic fake luchador. So Penta's kind of getting dragged down, and he's doing jobs. And this is a good step. I find this a good step. I hope Penta does well. Get him away from AAA. Make sure that he can succeed in WWE. He's not going to be relegated to AAA. Get him away from the Americanos and just let him be where he probably should have been a year or so ago. Congrats, Penta. Hopefully, you can keep working your way back up the ladder and have the momentum behind you that I thought you did last year. So, I don't know. 2 big thumbs up for that. I guess we can go over the Judgment Day lore in a little bit. But Ace, Penta, is he back on track? Should I
Yeah,
be
yeah.
optimistic?
I was pretty happy to see. It does leave the question mark for Dominic now, because I mean, other than Gunther, Dominic was another one who obviously got a bit of the Cena rub on the way out.
I
Um,
think it's probably Finn Balor. I mean, I'm sure they're doing the slow.
yeah, I mean, I guess you don't
Hopefully,
need the title for that, but you know,
I think he could just
it
have
did
it
it
because
did come off kind of odd to me.
they did kind of allude. It was like, here's the thing. I thought that first Finn Balor was just gonna be like, he just lost. Who cares? But prior to like Danhausen, Finn Balor comes in late. He rejoins the Judgment Day late during Brooks' favorite walk-in segment. The Judgment Day walked in without Finn Balor, so That was a useful walk-in. Heck yeah, WWE for that one. So then, of course, they're hinting at like low-key tension. Dom's asking if
They've
his
been
judgment
hinting at
worth it.
tension for the better part of 3 years now.
Yeah. And then what was it, like almost 2 years now that old Damian Priest and Finn Balor had their split. Good grief. So now they're slowly and steadily still hinting at tension. Finn saying, I told you, you got to do this on your own. And Dom saying, no, I just want you boys out there after I win. So is Finn finally going to break free from them, from this Judgment Day vortex? Is it going to be leading to Finn and Dom? I think that's where they're going to go. But given how molasses these other storylines can be, it could be maybe next year's WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. But that's where my mind went to for old Dom there. I'll let you get back on track there, Ace. Sorry for stealing your thunder there.
No, no, yeah. No, I don't know exactly. I feel like they'll probably still work. Maybe, at was it the Rey de Reyes for the AAA maybe costs him there, maybe. Although I don't know, I don't I don't see Finn being the heel for that. But it also wouldn't to
Yeah.
me make a lot of sense for the baby face to turn, and then like what do you have, fucking Dominic beat up old man Finn, and then he's the like it's kind of weird. I know they have to do this match obviously at some point, but it's just yeah, it I felt like there was more of a story at least with the title, because you could argue, well, I need a championship. I don't just need to beat you. But obviously, if they break up now, it's
No.
got to be more personal. But
If Dominic was the world champion, maybe Finn's won that Intercontinental title many a
that's
times
fair
before.
too.
Let's not just overcomplicate things. Let's just get Finn free, because I kind of put Finn Balor internally as that how many folks view Drew McIntyre. I mean, I view Drew as the
Yeah,
losing loser who does nothing but lose, but I still think there's some skill in Drew there. I know some folks are thinking like Finn Balor's washed. I think the program, this brief program with CM Punk shows there's still a little bit gas tank left in old 44-year-old Finn Balor. Maybe there's a way you can make him a top baby face, but I think he could just have him maybe not get kicked out, but like maybe break free. Maybe he's the one that just denies the help and does things on his own, and then Dominic doesn't like that, and then you finally have Judgment Day split off number 3 or 4, whatever it is. But I don't know.
as I feel like I don't know, like Finn and JD almost feel weird in the group. And they're like, I could almost just see Dominic running with just Liv Raquel and Roxanne. Like
Hmm.
to me, I think that would almost make more sense too, because if he's supposed to be this, ladies' man, right? Like Finn and JD, I feel like are almost strange in the group that Finn was once leading. So it's yeah, I don't know.
If you don't have JD, you still need someone to eat the pinfall. You need their
Yeah,
version of Austin Theory, so Dominic doesn't have to lose. So you might need him, or at least call someone else up to take that role. But I don't know. That's Judgment Day lore. Any other Raw notes before we move on to we hardly give this attention, NXT? Anything on Raw before we move on?
no, I think that pretty much covers everything I'd want to talk about there.
A lot of WWE talk this week. Goodness gracious. So yeah, going to NXT, we got a pair of new champions on Tuesday's show. The Varsity Project, or I think they're called the Varsity Project, just with Ricky Smokes and Brad Baylor there. The guy who looks 12 years old. They defeat Dark State to become the new NXT Tag Team Champions. And then a new NXT North American Champion, Miles Bourne, defeats good Canadian kid, Ethan Page, Hamilton, Ontario boy. And
Hey,
so NXT, it's interesting here because it was a disaster last year in terms of creating and elevating new stars. They had some chances, like, I know Javon Evans should probably be okay right now. I mean, he lost to Logan Paul on the main roster, so we'll see. But there's a chance for Javon Evans maybe to be elevated over the course of last year. Thea Hale, Lola Vice, plenty of folks. And it felt like they never really did that. And then all of a sudden, it takes one Saturday night's main event where Obafemi and Javon Evans are spotted and they get called up, and Trick is finally called up. So now they're just trying to create new stars. So it seems like the Varsity Project's a pretty good tag team after coming in from evolve under the WWE umbrella after, I think, being WWE ID talents. And then Miles Bourne kind of had his peak a few months ago when he was challenging for the NXT Championship. He's part of the no quarter catch crew with like Charlie Dempsey. He's being chanted Young Randy or Randy Jr., wherever the NXT fans chanted at him because he kind of looks like Randy Orton. And there's a little bit of charm with him being legally deaf. I think there's a lot of sympathy there. So, two good bits of change. Hopefully, they can create some new stars here. We'll talk about the business of NXT here in just a little bit. But, hey, this new direction for the development brand. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Anything else you want to see?
No, yeah, I thought this was a really good move. I wanted to actually, I haven't had a chance to ask you about this yet, but to me, they feel so Mean Street Posse. I don't know what it is. It's just like the Zoomer version of the Mean Street Posse, and I love them, the Vanity Project.
Yeah.
It's yeah. But I wanted to bring that up because I when I was watching last week, and that's all I could see was just like a thin Pete Gas if he grew up in or if he was born in 2003. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm all for the move. I think it's good. And Miles Bourne too. I think there's a lot you can do there with him. Obviously, built-in sympathy. Um, yeah, no, I feel like they're starting to hopefully stir the ship in a bit of a better direction. Obviously, like you said, we're gonna get to some more front office stuff. But as for the actual product, I was a fan of the moves.
You got to start somewhere for sure because I think WWE is now cognizant of the damage that was done to the NXT brand over the last year and
Mhm.
change. Because as we'll go to, how do we give the context for this? So NXT, of course, has been the development brand for WWE for well over a decade. But as we've mentioned before, it used to be a super indie once upon a time. Rather than focusing on developmental, they would have all the top stars from the independent scene or from Ring of Honor or New Japan Pro Wrestling to kind of counteract that portion of the audience or to counteract that portion of the business. So I remember, I don't know if it goes before, but the last WrestleMania I went to, WrestleMania 31 in the Bay Area, there's not an NXT takeover show, but an NXT house show at San Jose State University we all went to. It was like the night or two before WrestleMania 31. A couple thousand people for a house show, hot crowd. And then it was WrestleMania 32, where they started to have these standalone televised NXT shows air the day before WrestleMania. And then from 2016 on, they did it, and the shows are always great. And then they have the change in 2001. They go NXT Black and Gold to NXT 2.0, where WWE concedes defeat to AEW. AEW is just going to be existing. So they decide to turn NXT back into a developmental brand, and they mostly go with fresh, green new wrestlers, mostly doing their shows out of the Performance Center in Orlando. But from 2022 onward, they would have NXT Stand and Deliver, their biggest show of the year, take place the day of night one of WrestleMania, basically take place during WrestleMania weekend, at the very least. They've had some good business. I think in Philadelphia 2 years ago, they had like 14,000. Like, this is the Rock and Roman against Cody and Seth WrestleMania, where business is peaking. But then Trick Williams is in the main event. It's in Philadelphia, and they do pretty good business. Last year, I think they did like 7,000 or so. They tarped off one half of the arena and tried to make it look full that way. And so over the last week, there was an announcement that WWE would be relocating NXT Stand and Deliver, not taking place during WrestleMania weekend, but 2 weeks prior. It's taking place now in St. Louis, Missouri. And we were kind of talking about it like, okay, with TV production and depending on which city you're in, it can be really challenging to have a good crowd for NXT Stand and Deliver the morning before one of the two WrestleMania days. Because, say, if you're in Philadelphia, it's probably a little bit easier than, say, as we've experienced, Los Angeles, because you're supposed to go to the former Staples Center downtown in the morning and then go all the way to Inglewood to the stadium in Los Angeles traffic during the day. it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a long day. But I think it's a pain in the butt for Las Vegas, maybe not as much as LA, but I was stunned because, okay, you're still set up for SmackDown and Raw during WrestleMania weekend. You don't have to take up or take down. It makes sense. And I saw St. Louis. I'm like, that's an odd market. But then SmackDown, there it's going to be at the Enterprise Center. I think it's what's called. It's where the St. Louis Blues play. SmackDown's going to be at that building on the Friday. I'm like, okay, they'll just leave the production up and then try and fill in a few thousand people for stand and deliver. Wrong. They're going to the factory in St. Louis. It's their biggest show of the year, and it's a 2,100 person or so venue. They've ran this building before. It's right when NXT got on the CW. They had Randy Orton wrestling on the show. Good St. Louis boy. I think they struggled to get like 2,000 or so people. Ace, what does this whole move tell you about the state of NXT, or maybe how WWE views the business, or just for setup? How did you perceive this news this week?
I think it's no shock that obviously, or no surprise, I should say, that NXT's taken a step back to what they were in the years prior. Um, but that being said, I don't know necessarily with this roster if they have the legs to stand on running a main arena show. Not to knock them, but it's just like it's very clearly developmental, and it's always kind of tough because it's one of those things where once you go forward, it's really hard to take a step back. And I think that's kind of the story of NXT right now, because they were at just the highest of the highs for as long as they were. And now that it is back to, I won't say like an FCW, but now that it is kind of in that, like, okay, it's the development. And that's not, I don't say that as a bad thing. It's so vital to have a farm system. But for a while there, NXT got so big to a point where it wasn't a farm system. I mean, it still technically speaking was, but they were getting some of the best independent talent from all over, um, with a WWE production, and it was insane. Like people still talk about Black and Gold. This is a little different now. Um, I think the move shows that obviously they don't necessarily feel super confident in its ability to sell out its own arena. Also, though, that being said, I love the idea of getting out of that congested Las Vegas market, because it's such a big ask. You think now with 2 nights for WrestleMania, your Raw, your SmackDown, your Hall of Fame, they're gonna add probably another roast in. Like there's so many things they expect you to do, and WWE World, fan access in our era. There's so many things where it's just another thing you've got to do there. And it's like we know how expensive it is now. We've been seeing with not just NXT, but with every show how expensive it is now. So I was a fan of them kind of saying like, okay, no, let's give it its own thing. And I know they obviously want NXT to feel like they're a part of this, WrestleMania weekend themselves. But it's to me, it's just a no-brainer move, getting it, in its own market for one. Um, I think they were realistic with their decision to not have it at Enterprise, because I mean, if they're having problems selling, the biggest event of the year, and I haven't looked to see exactly what the prices are yet for NXT, but I can't imagine super cheap, given the brand they're associated with. I think they kind of knew like, well, it's not, not gonna necessarily sell, and they kind of got on top of it, and yeah.
Yeah, I think they knew that this show was going to bomb, and they do not want, because here's the thing, like last year they found a way to make it look full, but they instead, like sometimes when you're taping a wrestling show, you'll have the hard cam side, and the where the hard camera is facing, you'll want to have as many people there as possible. However, sometimes folks will, or promotions will only open up, say, like a lower bowl to make that look as full as possible, and you have multiple angles. with last year's show, they had like 7,000 or so people, but they only had one side of the whole arena in Las Vegas open, available. And that was about 7,000. So, as you mentioned to Raw and SmackDown, this last update. This is numbers as of February 25th, so a couple days away. But both Raw and SmackDown at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, just under 6,200 people. So they're under what NXT TakeOver did last year. And of course, they want both those buildings to be packed. They want WrestleMania weekend to be packed. They're struggling to sell tickets, so it's a way to like put all of your focus in on trying to sell those WrestleMania tickets. And it's also just a mixture of they clearly just don't have the confidence NXT is going to be able to draw right now. And they've had times where this NXT 2.0 was able to draw, like 2024, where, you know, Ilya Dragunov's the champion, and then Trick Williams is just coming into his own. He has the breakup and then feud with Carmelo Hayes, and they drew like 14,000 during that WrestleMania weekend in Philly. And NXT's, it's very hit or miss. It's very peaks and valleys because as a show featuring wacky, zany characters, they probably have the most characters out of any show in wrestling right now. But when it's time to ring the bell, or maybe the booking doesn't make sense and you don't have stars, it's a bit of a chore to get through, like in 2021, 2022. But when it's on, it's on. When it's not, it's not. And this is a rebuilding phase. So it's just tough because I think relocating to St. Louis, it's one, I think that's kind of a challenging market, but then two, it would be so much more affordable to just have it at the Enterprise Center the day afterwards, if that building's available, to just leave the gear up because you're there for SmackDown the previous night. I don't think that maybe they felt that they could not salvage this. So it's just kind of too bad to see their biggest show of the year take such a downscale. But clearly WrestleMania is the priority, and just to have anything on WrestleMania weekend not be well intended, I mean, I'm kind of not a fan of crowd discourse for the most part. Like, I like it when crowds are doing well, especially try and beat some of those narratives out there. But I think you could just see it already. Like if Stand and Deliver, I should say, were to take place in Las Vegas this year and did like maybe 2,000, 3,000 in that building, all those photos would be shared on social media and all the discourse would happen. And I don't think WWE at this point wants to see a WrestleMania weekend show not draw well. So they've got a lot of WrestleMania is the master they're serving right now to sell tickets for. It's just unfortunate for the state NXT is in, and just how expensive tickets are for WrestleMania that you just can't find a way to justify it. So I don't know.
Well, again, I mean the ticket prices, like that's on fucking them, like. But it's just, I don't know. It's just crazy to think that not at one point have they said like maybe this is too expensive. It's just, let's give it a bigger match so they feel like they have to. But it's gonna bite them. I saw a little off topic, but I saw a tweet that somebody's WWE for Madison Square Garden. You can like buy your name written on the canvas. And somebody tweeted, "This is the kind of greed they talked about in the Bible," because it's just crazy, man. It's just nuts.
They will
Um,
sell every bit. Nick Khan will sell you everything that can be sold. Oh my god.
yeah,
Yeah,
it is
insane.
what it is. I mean, obviously, we live in a capitalist society, so they're gonna keep doing their thing. And again, you absolutely don't have to hand it to them. You do not, but I do miss a blank mat every now and then. That's
Oh,
not
every
telling me to
single
buy a
day.
Slim Jim.
Every single day. But and WrestleMania, this is probably like, if not the most successful WrestleMania, because like last year was, I think it was $33 million a gate for each night. They might get that with like maybe 40,000 instead of like 60,000, just because of how high those ticket prices are now. So unfortunately, it's still successful. It's just not great for your brand, but
It's unfortunate too because I wish that like success, and I get it, it's a business. At the end of the day, the goal is to make money. But I just wish success wasn't always measured by how much fucking money did we suck out of our audience, like Why can't success be like, that was a great match, Cody? You're really, you really showed them what you were made of.
I
And
can,
again, I know it's an entrepreneurship and it's
yeah,
their
I
they're
like,
there to
I,
make
I
money,
like,
and I get that.
I like attendance figures, but like, how many times do you have to say we broke the gate for this arena, and then the fans are cheering that they're being bent over backwards, raked
The
over the coals
language
for their
is
money?
interesting actually, because whenever you think of those old manias where they go 74,000, what they were telling you out of that was, 74,000 souls wouldn't rather be anywhere else. They had to be here. But that is interesting because when you brag about the gate, that is saying like, look at how much fucking money we made. And it's interesting because it's the same thing. But it's little things like that where at least, in the former regime, or the former administration, I should say, they knew like, well, let's mask what we're saying. Like, okay, oh, the attendance is great. We know what that means, critically thinking, but you don't come outright and say like, best box office, we're making more. This made more money than last year, which was the biggest one since the year before that, and we're just fucking sucking them dry. Like
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Got a lot of issues with this whole WWE and the way they operate things. I don't know if I ever told you that, Ace, but
Maybe once or twice.
yeah. All right, but if you want to see wrestling shows that are not going to bend you over backwards and rake you over the coals, and you still get good entertainment value, boy, do I have a couple of independent shows for you, my dear listener and viewer. Let's start with your neck of the woods on Vancouver Island there, Ace. Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling. These shows are coming up here at the end of the month. Friday, March 27th, from the Langford Legion in Langford, 6:30 p.m. start, Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling. The day afterwards, they're coming back up north of the island in Ace's neck of the woods. Saturday, March 28th, from the Centennial Building in Nanaimo, Vancouver Island Pro Wrestling. It's a 6:30 p.m. start time. They're taking a month off afterwards because Saturday, April 25th at 6:30 p.m. from the Meller Hall, the Cowex grounds in Duncan on Vancouver Island. And then, just a little over 3 months away, WrestleFest 3, the biggest independent wrestling show on Vancouver Island, taking place Friday, June 19th at the Frank Crane Arena with a 6:30 p.m. start time. Tables, ladders, and chairs. Oh my! In the main event. That'll be a good show. Going to my neck of the woods now. Thrash Wrestling, as mentioned, I'm excited for the upcoming show, Grand Machismo. Thrash Wrestling's coming to Moccasin Square Gardens on the Tecumloops Reserve, Saturday, March 14th at 7 p.m. We have a card. We have matches for this show. I'm looking forward to it. So first, the headliner, the man who is on front and center on the poster, Prince Tenali. Thrash Wrestling put on social media saying that due to unforeseen circumstances, he's unable to make Grand Machismo from Moccasin Square Gardens on the Tecumloops Reserve, Saturday, March 14th. Card subject to change. Always keep those on your posters, promoters out there, because they are subject to change. But in his place, another luchador, Ave Rex, will be taking on Alan Extreme. That's, again, Saturday, March 14th at Moccasin Square Gardens. Other matches include Draco taking on Sydney Steele. We've got the Vixen Jade taking on Danica Diehard Della Rouge. We've got a tag team match, Ginha and Christian Starr taking on the Rogue Canes. And for the BC Interior Championship, Chase Degenhart, Mr. Everything, a shooter. He will be defending against the best name in wrestling, the Cheetah Bear, Jude Dawkins. Again, that's Saturday, March 14th, 7 p.m. from Moccasin Square Gardens on the Tecumloops Reserve. Thrash Wrestling's going around elsewhere in the interior. Friday, March 20th, 7 p.m. at the Luso Canadian Multicultural Society in Penticton, followed up by Saturday, March 21st at 7 p.m. from the St. Peter's and Paul Ukrainian Orthodox Church in Kelowna. And then again, to round out the end of March, the Royal Canadian Legion in Osoyoos in the desert, Saturday, March 28th at 7 p.m. for Thrash Wrestling Men in Tights. And we've got 2 new Thrash shows to announce. Cup Check exclusive. It's not exclusive, unfortunately. Thrash Wrestling presents Gut Check Friday, April 10th at 7 p.m. from the SASCU Recreation Center in Salmon Arm, BC, in the Shoe Swap. And then back to Kelowna again at Rutland Arena on Friday, April 24th at 7 p.m. for K-Town Contra 3. Thrash Wrestling's going crazy right now, man. Here we go. And then going to the Lower Mainland, All-Star Wrestling presents The Young and the Restless from the Alice McKay Building in Surrey. That is... Oh, where is this? This text is so small on the poster here. I want to say this is somewhere in April. Listen to previous podcasts for these shows. I'll find it eventually. But there is a Heavy Mania, All-Star Wrestling Heavy Mania 2 from the Abbotsford Arts Center in Abbotsford. That is April the 4th with doors opening at 6:45 p.m. Big West Wrestling Slash and Burn Saturday, May 16th from Surrey. That's at the Sullivan's Community Association, Surrey, Saturday, May 16th from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Up to Northern BC, we got a packed weekend of wrestling. Primetime Wrestling, 2 nights at the Prince George Civic Center on Friday, March 13th at 5:45 p.m. and then Saturday, March 14th at 5:45 p.m. from the Prince George Civic Center. And then closing the weekend off in the Caribou at the Quesnel and District Senior Society in Quesnel, Sunday, March 15th at 6:30 p.m. And Ace, I usually think I'm pretty up to date with a lot of these shows announcements, knowing what's going on in BC and the interior. I missed this one, so this is on me. Shout out to new listener to the podcast, Jake Wood, the online Jake Wood. We got a mutual friend, one of my best friends and old coworkers in Melfort, Saskatchewan. He's an Edmonton boy, so obviously grew up with him. A really good indie wrestler in Edmonton. If you're around the Edmonton area and see the online Jake Wood on the poster, you should check it out. But he's going to be in Williams Lake, BC, in the Caribou Overdrive on April 18th from Limelight Theater. That's April 18th, $25 tickets in advance, $30 at the door. That's in Williams Lake, BC. So give a shout there. And it's not just shows we have, Ace. Cup Check Wrestling. People want to talk to us and with us. We're going to be announcing right now our inaugural guest. Do you think we'll be able to live up to the hype here? I see.
I was going to say, I was surprised someone wanted to talk to us as well. So that's always a bonus. But.
Oh my God. I don't even want to talk to you at the best of days. So
right? Yeah, I was going to say.
So now, hopefully this, I like to think we got a pretty good guest because obviously we're starting out this venture on the Cup Check Wrestling podcast. Want to make sure that we got stuff under our feet before looking to expand and bring other folks in. So I'm really excited about this guest, especially for the heart of our BC focus, our independent focus on Sunday, March 8th, and a special interview, special segment, the first guest on the Cup Check Wrestling podcast, former 2-time VIPW champion, 2-time headliner of WrestleFest for VIPW in Nanaimo's own Matt Maverick will be joining us on the Cup Check Wrestling podcast Sunday, March 8th. Be there, be there, be there. Ace.
Oh, yeah.
We got Matt. Thrilled to have Matt. And now Matt's been supporting us since this podcast venture started. And we've kind of been following him along on his wrestling journey. I'm excited for Sunday. I wasn't just hyperbole when I was saying can't wait for this recording session, but also can't wait for Sunday. I think we'll have a grand time. Hopefully, folks join us in on Sunday, March 8th. Matt Maverick joins the Cup Check Wrestling podcast. Any thoughts? Any hot takes?
No, I'm very excited. This will be really cool. Obviously for us, we'll get more into it on Sunday, but it means a lot. So I'm pretty stoked.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, Matt Maverick. Be here, folks. Should be a hell of a time. And yeah, so that's the indies up to date on the indie independent scene here in BC, and a lot of WWE talk.
Oh, also, I forgot to tell you, we might be doing the Duncan show. What was that on the 20th? The VIPW is going to?
Yeah, that is again. They got a second plug. Saturday, April 25th from Mellor Hall, the Cowex Grounds in Duncan. That's Saturday, April 25th at 6:30 p.m. What brings you to Duncan that day?
We're looking at we're in Souk in the day, so we were thinking on the way back, if the gods align or if the time aligns, we'll try to pop in there on the way home to Nanaimo. So
That'll be a hell of a time to be alive. And yeah, no, VIPW in Duncan on Saturday, April 25th. Be there or be square. Please be there instead.
I usually say be there or don't, just as a joke, but you should be there.
All right, we're going to try and make this a nice and clean 3-hour podcast. So, but it was a busy week, not just for the Fed, not just for Indies, but for AEW as well. More of a clear path to the on the road to Revolution. Good episode of Dynamite and Collision. We'll try and get you the stuff that you should probably go out of your way to check out, or stuff that we just want to touch on. Good wrestling up and down for Dynamite and Collision. On Dynamite, there's a fun little segment with Swerve Strickland. So they're showing a video recap of what transpired with Swerve turning heel and attacking Kenny Omega after their match. Prince Nana interrupts the video package just to call everyone's attention, call the announcers fools. God, Nana, he's such a good promo. It's an embarrassment of riches because Swerve doesn't need him, but you need to have Nana's dance. It's critical for the act, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, so good. So Swerve says his most successful time was basically once he was the most dangerous man in AEW, and he said, referred to his time with Hangman Adam Page going into All In Texas last year, when he was asked if he had any regrets with what he did, like breaking into Hangman's house and cutting a promo on his baby. Swerve said, nah, because that's when I was the most successful. And then a fan chanted, you're a piece of shit or something. And Swerve just goes, yo mama, boy. And the crowd in Colorado turned for Swerve. But then basically he says, what was it exactly? He says, well, basically he notes that Kenny said Brodie Kane, like, oh, you're calling Brodie Kane the most dangerous man. And then eventually Brodie Kane beats Mark Davis in a match and challenges Swerve Strickland, who says he's the most dangerous man. So I want to pat myself on the back. I think I called this one.
You did, yeah, I was going to say.
Not official yet, but it seems like we're getting Swerve and Brodie Kane at Revolution. It's not just a lose the title and off with you, Brodie. He's going to get a big match at Revolution against Swerve. Okay. Ace, your thoughts on the segment, the match, the direction, how this is all going?
Yeah, no, I thought the segment was well done to kind of firmly plant Swerve's flag in the heel camp. And yeah, and again, like kind of focusing in on Brodie because I think he's their money guy right now. At least in the wings, kind of waiting for a little bit of that rub. I think this was the perfect way to follow up because obviously he was never going to win the world title. But my fear was just that it was gonna, either be back to tag matches or, but now he's got a main event program, hopefully, like you said, knock on wood, because it's not quite official just yet. But it seems like all roads lead to Revolution, and I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of tag teams, Brodie Kane's tag team partner Bandito, after Brodie Kane laid that challenge, Bandito's like, I want to fight too. And who comes out? But Andrade El Idolo. And that match was confirmed on Collision. So that should be a barn burner. Just two Jack Strong luchadors just being mean Jack luchadors. I can't wait. But about Brodie still being a money man, as long as they're chanting fuck eyes, there is a reason to keep bringing Brodie Kane back out because gets a reaction. Funny chant though. Ace, we've been watching wrestling for decades. It takes a lot, I think, to sincerely pop us. This Colorado crowd made me laugh out loud twice. One of them was during Brodie Kane's match with Mark Davis of the Don Callis family. As always, the crowd is chanting, fuck Don Callis, but then they added, fuck Ice too! Fuck Don Callis! Fuck Ice too! So, good for you, Colorado. You made me laugh after all these years. Bless. So, other noteworthy segments for AW this week, MJF and the Hangman, they have their face-to-face after all this, the lore, the discussions that we had last week about Hangman potentially Cody Rhodesing himself and the look of Texas Deathmatch. MJF is coming out to pitch his idea for a stipulation at Revolution. No disqualification for MJF only match. He pitches. Let's flip a coin.
Worth a try, right?
Yeah. If it's heads, it's my stipulation. If it's tails, it's a Texas death match. And what do we say? We love a babyface who's not dumb. So first, Hangman's being tough. He's like warning MJF what could happen in a Texas death match. He can use barbed wire to wrap around his lips and rip his tongue out, or put him in broken glass. However, MJF flips the coin. It's heads. It's a no disqualification for MJF only match. Or so we thought, because MJF grabs that quarter. He's quick to get out of there, but quick as a whistle. Hangman goes, Max, let's see that coin. And MJF, he's trying to get out of Dodge. And AEW has their 2 tunnels on the entrance ramp. Jet Speed covers one end. Brodie King and Bandito cover the other end. MJF is toast, warm buttery toast. And they find out it was a double-sided coin. It was rigged. And instead of flipping the coin again, Tony Khan, through Tony Schiavone, punishes MJF for trying to cheat by already booking the Texas Death Match. So that is the main event of Revolution. MJF defending the AEW Men's World Championship against the Hangman. Ace, the segment, this match, I think it is still Hangman with the Cody Rhodes rule of not challenging again if he loses. Your thoughts on how this all played out?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it still is. So we need Hangman to still win this match. But no, we know we definitely do. Yeah, no, I was still a fan of the segment itself. I thought it was good. And again, it served what it needed to serve. And yeah, and like you said, we love a good smart baby face, because I didn't even think of that. I was just like, that fucking Max. Damn luck of the draw, right?
Yep. He's quick. He's quick on his feet, that Hangman. We like it.
He is quick. You got to give him that.
All right. And this segment, I mean, it's not a go your way to see, but it's just a topic I kind of want to bring up. So the Babes of Wrath, Harley Cameron, and Willow Nightingale are defending the Women's World Tag Team Championships against Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. First, the Babes of Wrath beat them at Grand Slam Australia. I don't know why this rematch is happening, but it was kind of weird to watch because it ends with a disqualification. Their new teammate Lena Cross attacking the Babes of Wrath. I'm like, what the fuck happened here? Why are you throwing away a championship match? So what happened was, I don't know if Penelope Ford is supposed to take this pinfall because AEW likes to protect Megan Bayne, or if we were actually going to get new tag team champions here, but Penelope Ford sprained her ankle for realsies. She was doing a moonsault to the outside, and thankfully it's a sprained ankle, so it seems like she won't be out for too long, but she couldn't quite finish the match, and during the attack, they snuck her off to the back. I want to bring this up just because the discourse here. So Harley Cameron on social media, on Twitter, took a lot of flack. Folks were blaming her for this, that Penelope Ford got injured, and she deactivated her Twitter account in response of all the harassment. And if you look at the video, so of course, Penelope's doing the moonsault to the outside. Harley and Willow are out there, and during the video, Harley kind of sidesteps. She moves out of the way a little bit, and so it looks like she's not catching her opponent. She can't fucking work. What a bum. But here's the thing, Ace. I'm not a gymnast. I can't even fall with style like Buzz Lightyear. But watching this pro wrestling enough, basically, if you are planning to fall, say if you're doing a crossbody and you're going to land on your front, that's when someone's supposed to catch you. If you are doing a moonsault and you're landing feet first, and we've seen Hangman and Page do this moonsault, Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton. I think Tiffany got hurt on that recently. But if you're landing feet first, you're not supposed to be caught. You're supposed to give a little bit of room and then fall down as whoever's doing the moonsault lands on their feet. So I don't think this is Harley's fault at all. Yeah, but I guess your thought on the spot, your thought on the, like, this discourse in terms of just when injuries happen, having some thoughts or wanting to air those thoughts at who you think did wrong, I suppose.
Yeah, I like that, people are quick to defend, but anger can sometimes get put in the wrong places. It's tough because I mean, even for Harley Cameron too, like a lot of that's just kind of not that you have to eat that, but people are going to think what they think no matter what. Now, that being said, I mean, now I'm commenting on wrestling, at least weekly, but it's just like I see a lot of that kind of stuff, and I'm just like, man, do you got nothing better to do than fucking so that yeah, like for me, especially if you're like using it to knock someone down, and again, this is gonna sound super preachy, obviously, but you could very well just as easily wish to, get well soon. And but
Hmm.
yeah, I say yeah,
Yeah.
I don't personally get that kind of discourse surrounding it. But of
Yeah, like I'm sure Harley feels bad enough. I mean, like I'm sure they all
course, like
feel bad because wrestling is a partnership. You don't want to Professionals don't want to actually injure their opponents or injure anyone, quite frankly, but it's dangerous. Stuff will happen. And in this case, like, because I've seen some wrestlers I've had some issues with in terms like I know that they're not intentionally trying to injure, but sometimes you're sloppy or sometimes you do things incorrectly. I would pull my hair out watching Sheamus for the longest time for this, Ryback, Nia Jax. Goldberg still takes a lot of flack for what he did in WCW, most famously with the super kick to Bret Hart. I think there's a difference. While you can be frustrated, is it intentional or not? And so I have no time when something's a legit accident. I don't have time to harass someone on social media for that. If there is a case, is if someone's intentionally hurting someone. Thankfully it rarely happens now that we know of. I remember one incident. There was a show in AAA before WWE bought it. There was a talent called Sexy Star. Put she was with TNA at the time, a women's wrestler named Rosemary in an armbar, and Rosemary was trusting her opponent Sexy Star with her arm, and Sexy Star, I forget the context behind it, did an armbar on Rosemary for real and broke her arm. And that shit sucks. I remember Cody Rhodes saying, "You'll never be on the same card as me." And this is kind of all like when the first All In is happening. So that's where I kind of stand of it. Like accidents will happen. No room for stuff doing stuff intentionally. But I don't know, man. It's hard. Wrestling's very hard, and accidents will happen.
yeah,
Give
yeah,
people a break. Just because you have instant access to tweeting someone or DMing someone, there's still a human being on the other end of that has to be flooded
of
with
course.
all that stuff. And it's probably not just you, it's probably swarms of people doing that as well. So take it easy. I don't know. That's my soapbox for today. Thanks for giving me a few minutes, Ace. You have anything else to add?
No, 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 just yeah. Like I said, accidents happen, and it's you know, I yeah, I don't even get the discourse from some people, like because again, I think you had mentioned it too, but she's already gonna feel bad enough. And I guarantee you she went back there saying, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And now, like I would hate to think of somebody upset already going through it and then having to deal with that backlash too. It sucks. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully
Agreed.
there's speedy recovery on all ends and we don't
Mm-hmm.
see too much more of this kind of stuff.
Yep. Come back, Penelope Ford. Come back soon. I mean, it's been a little bit of a rotten luck recently with injuries. So come back full strength. I've been really angry this episode. That's on me, Ace. I'm going to try and cheer up here. Uh, but yeah, what cheered me up, so no big angle came from this, but this is just an extraordinarily fun match that you should go out your way to see. This is called Mile High Mayhem. So they're in Denver, Colorado. The Young Bucks, the Rascals, and Jack Perry defeated FTR and the Demand, Ricochet, and the uh, Gates of Agony. Um, Ace, you saw the first Anarchy in the arena match when you went to Double or Nothing in Las
That's
Vegas.
right. Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll ask for your experience on this quickly, but basically to set the stage, Anarchy in the Arena, there was a match called Stadium Stampede that happened during the pandemic that AEW did because no one's in the building, and they did their shows at Daly's Place next to the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium, with which the Khan family owns, and they decided to still have that spirit in arenas in front of people. But what kind of got people to like it was the music will keep playing for the first couple of minutes. And in this case, Jack Perry comes out. His entrance theme song is Tarzan Boy. it's a certified hood classic of a tune. It plays a couple of times, and the more you play it, the more people get into anarchy in the arena. So it was like this, and that became kind of like a pro wrestling gorilla kind of crazy choreographed spots fest. But Ace, just to kind of get, I guess, explain to folks what they're missing out here if they've never seen an anarchy in the arena match. What was your experience like watching that first? And Wild Thing kept playing over and over and over. Do you have any memories of that you want to share? Or?
Yeah, so for those who think these kind of matches are hard to keep up with on TV, they are even harder in person when there's not a nice big camera going on. Because like, so we're in one of the like the box seating, not like a private box, but we're in box seating. I've had few too many libations. So I'm feeling myself. And yeah, there was a lot going on that weekend. But I remember the one spot I always remember is one with obviously Kingston walking down, but there were tables that were set up in the corner for a while, like not in like in the actual like house of like floor seating. And right, like they'd been set up the entire show because I remember when we walked in, got to our seats, we were like, "Oh, that's probably for Anarchy," because I think there was a ladder too, but there were tables right down next to it. And then of course, yeah, they ended up using it in a spot. I think it was Brian too, Danielson that
I think so.
threw somebody through. It's wow, that was like 4 years ago now, man. That's wild. I was just thinking of that back too. I was like, man, oh, yeah, no, that was almost half a decade now.
Yeah. But I
Um,
guess like
but
the
they're
music.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess the music, because I remember it kind of got because John Moxley's theme song at the time was Wild Thing. I forget which artist did it. He had like I think he had two different renditions of the song, but it kind of
Well, they
gained
were using
popularity.
the what was the version from Major League for or they weren't they were using the original and
Mhm.
then because they I think they ended up switching it to the Major League version from the 80s for
I think
Ricky
that was
Vaughn.
the best one. Was
Yeah,
it?
whatever.
Oh God, I forget the name. Hmm. It wasn't X. Was the artist X or it wasn't Tone Loc. It was
Oh, I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I just
Rods.
know
I have no
because
idea.
Charlie Sheen's character in the movie, he was the pitcher that
Oh, okay.
came out to that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, the
So
old one was like not a Rolling Stones, but like the original rock one was like something like that. Also, fun fact that's also very off topic, but one of my favorites from Game of Thrones was when they did that like musical YouTube video and it was Wildling instead of Wild
oh,
Thing. And you had Jon Snow like spinning around like a rock star, and so that was a lot of fun too. But
hell yeah. Yeah. But I guess I wanted to get your perspective because it felt like the more Wild Thing played, the more people were losing their mind.
it
And
definitely there is an energy because of it. Just it, yeah, there's definitely an energy that it adds to it, especially being there live, especially like the adrenaline. You're there with a couple buddies, you're having a couple drinks, like it was a really fun weekend. Um, and yeah, something like that. Just the craziness of a 5-on-5 or 6-on-6 match like that, where there is always something. Like, you
oh,
can't
it's something.
blink, you're gonna miss something. Um, and so yeah, so it like that's kind of my biggest takeaway is, if you think these like split screens on TV are hard to follow, man, it's even worse when you're like, oh no, and your buddy's pointing at something, and you're like, oh, like so. But yeah, they're a lot of fun, and this match was a lot of fun too.
Oh yeah, like just some of the spots that I drew down, like that stood out to me. So Stokely Hathaway's still in the wheelchair, but Cash Wheeler grabs him to use him as a battery ram, and Stokely holds his fist like he's a javelin. I died. Or Myron Reed's running down from the ramp and hits a cutter, jumps over the top rope. Jack Perry, I can't believe we haven't seen more vacuum cleaners in wrestling. Jack Perry
Yeah, I was thinking of that too.
takes
Actually,
a
funny enough.
full
Yeah.
vacuum cleaner. Like, I got something similar right next to me here that I use for the apartment. This thing is full. I'm not sure if it's shoot dust or just powder thrown in. Shoot dust. But it explodes and creates a cool visual. That ruled. There's a part where it's like the Young Bucks, one of the Bucks is like trying to throw a trash can, but like his teammate's in the way. And so Teammate dodges, hits Ricochet, it hits like another member of the Gates of Agony. There's times where there's like a 5 super kicks on one person and then a superplex and then 3 splashes on the other one. And this is where the Colorado fans pop me again. So there's 2 tables remaining. And so they're chanting 2 more tables because I hate we want tables. I hate that chant. I hate that chant. You're getting a banger of a match. You got all this crazy stuff. I know crashes and booms and exploding tables are cool. Fuck off with that chant. But this one got me because eventually went 1 more table. And then once the last table crashed, they chanted, no more tables. I fucking died. And it all ends with the Young Bucks. They defeated the Young Bucks and their team. Come home. I can't even follow where my notes are anymore. But yeah, they won it. Yeah, go your way to see it just because it's if you don't like choreographed wrestling, it may not be for you. But for what this match was supposed to be, just action and chaos everywhere with choreographed spots, won't see this version of this match done better than this one. And also Tarzan Boy's a banger. It sets that anarchy in the arena energy. Go your way to watch this. It gets all my roses. I thought this was excellent.
And it actually progressed the story too, going into Revolution. So double whammy.
We could have Jack Perry challenging Ricochet for the national championship again. The Young Bucks and the FTR continue their feud as they're gonna be having a championship match, and the Rascals get a huge win on TV too. So yeah, thumbs up for this segment. Moving forward to Collision quickly. Kevin Knight, one half of Jet Speed, one third of the Trios Championships. On Collision, he cuts a pretty good promo because MJF opens the show. He's telling Tony Khan, nope, I'm not doing this Texas death match. You come out here and cancel this match. Otherwise, I'm not leaving. Kevin Knight comes out. They've kind of given him some more mic time recently. Clearly, that they see big things with Kevin Knight. Superb talent. He's basically coming out just to say how it's like, I'm the future, I'm the now, I'll kick your ass. And it all leads to MJF offering him a World Championship match for this Wednesday's Dynamite. Should be good, but you know what? Maybe we just won't need that. Could you imagine if like Kevin Knight beats MJF and then Hangman's like, oh, I'm not going to put my career on the line. Could you imagine?
Well, so I don't know. Like, I'll never complain about guys working more because, like, I think there's a lot that we see nowadays where they should be working more. But I don't know. Like, for me, it feels weird to have a big match with these big stakes and then just have like especially for the championship. Like, it'd be one thing if he was just fighting MJF.
Yes,
But
that's
to
fair.
specifically say like it's for the championship, to me, it's kind of like, because at least in the case of like very, parallel, if you want to look at like Punk, Balor, and Roman, where it's part of the story, like, well, I don't give a fuck that it's your big match, right? But that's not the case because Kevin, like, he shouldn't want to fuck Hangman out of his. So I don't know, like, stick up for your buddy, sure. I don't know if I would have made it for the title. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because I don't see MJF losing the title. But just, yeah, I don't know, just a little thing where, I don't know, I felt like the title wasn't necessary.
That's one where if Kevin Knight wants to win, he needs to shoot on MJF. He needs to put him in a real armbar. That's how he'll become the world champion.
Then he'll never work on the same card as Cody afterwards.
Anyways, but it's also funny because that's not the only match Kevin Knight set up for himself. He appeared later on the show. So Kazuchika and Okada and Kyle Fletcher are having a tag team match. They beat Top Flight. So the story is Okada is basically a home wrecker right now. They're all in the Don Callis family, but Kyle Fletcher is great friends with Konosuke Takeshita. Okada and Takeshita are feuding. And so on Dynamite, they talked about this match, and Okada calls Kyle Fletcher his best friend. And you know what? We're both champions, unlike Takeshita. He's being a home wrecker, just trying to drive wedges in this friendship. So they win. Jet Speed comes out, Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. So they touched on that during the Continental Classic tournament over the holidays. Speedball beat Kyle Fletcher, who's the TNT champion. Kevin Knight beat Kazuchika Okada, who's the international champion. And then they said, hey, we can beat you in the tag team match, and we're the trios champions with Hangman Page. You find one member of the Don Callis family, we may defend the trios championships against you. So in this segment, they set up 3 matches down the road, but out of the show, Kevin Knight set up 4 matches for himself, and one of them he's challenging for the world championship. What the fuck?
That's, yeah. They always say no one else is your biggest fan besides you. So
Make the most out of your TV time is the
100%. Yeah. Okay.
lesson here. So there was that. This is going to be another soapbox, so nothing too much happens from this segment. Toni Storm wins. I forget her opponent, but it's basically setting up a match with her and Marina Shafir of the Death Riders down the road. This is where we have serious feelings about. I'm not sure if we'll agree on this one just with everything that's transpired, but we both gave our praise for Wheeler Yuta and his greasy long hair being shaved. I was okay with him not keeping that skullet that was shaved into him at Grand Slam Australia.
It's a lot to ask.
It is. Give him a signpost or something. But I digress. So instead of like a mask or what Kurt Angle did, where he had a wig underneath his Olympic wrestling headgear, Wheeler Yuta just has a beanie cap, like a toque in Canada, a beanie in the States, however you describe it. So first, Wheeler's wrestling in this toque. And so Collision opens up with like an 8-man tag team match. The Death Riders and the Don Callis family. Wheeler Yuta's taking a choke slam from Lance Archer. And technically, the toque was still on Wheeler Yuta's head, but it was as close to off as it could be. And you can kind of see, look at that bald head. And just like, man, you might as well have just taken it off right there and then, or get something else. But then Wheeler Yuta comes in after Tony's match, and Toni Storm takes the toque from Wheeler Yuta, and you can see live and in living color his bald head. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, you left so much on the table.
Kind of killed the reveal.
You killed the reveal. I mean, it's going head to, and here's the thing, it's going head to head with the Elimination Chamber. It's gonna do a lower rating than usual, but that should not stop you from wanting to put on a good show. But in this case, in general, why couldn't you have given Wheeler Yuta a skullet, or given him a lucha mask, or given him headgear with a wig like Kurt Angle, and try and earn this big old reveal of his bald head? And it was just a footnote as Toni Storm shifts her focus to Marina Shafir. I hated this. This broke my heart. Is it on me for dreaming big? Probably, but you shave someone's head. How can you not have all the fun with this, Ace? This broke my heart.
This is why I always say go for the do-rag, because it's tried, it's tested, it's
At that point, I would have wanted Yuta to give himself the Hogan stash too. Give him the Fu Manchu.
Do you remember, very off topic again, do you remember when Vince took off because I just remember the like weird buzz cut he had for a while after but I don't remember when the do-rag stopped. Was it like the Benoit stuff? Because I feel like it was the Benoit stuff and he was like, we should probably be serious for a bit.
Okay, I don't know why I remember this, just because I had my recorder memory going in my brain. So Vince was clean as a whistle bald, and he had like that little for lack of a better term, he had that who's the head coach, like he had that Frank Lombardi, or no, Vince Lombardi at first, but he's still clean bald.
Yeah, the fedora
taken off, and he hides his bald head underneath Lillian Garcia's skirt.
Amazing, by the way. Amazing.
Yeah, God. Hopefully he doesn't get into a lawsuit or anything, but
yeah, I was gonna say these are the reasons why we say we're not surprised when stuff comes forward.
What a freak.
But then he goes to the do-rag after that, and then he has the feud with Lashley. He's got the do-rag the whole time with Lashley.
Yeah. So as soon as Lashley beat Vince for the ECW championship a few months later, that's when the do-rag stopped. When Vince McMahon all of a sudden is like, they're doing the story where it's like Vince is like having an existential crisis. He's losing his mind more than he already is. And then, of course, his limo blows up. He dies, or at least Donald Trump thought he actually died. But yeah, it's all a storyline. And then, Chris Benoit did the thing. And we never could see the payoff for that story. But Yeah. So yeah, Vince culturally not appropriate, but you know what? Because his reputation was already so far in the gutter, it almost worked. Vince in the do rag. It just found a way. He got away with it. I don't know how he did it, but he got away with it.
I'd
I
like
don't,
to see Vince McMahon try and wiggle his way into this one.
ah, nevertheless, he wiggled his way out of this jam easily, or at least the Hogan do rag. If Wheeler Yuta had a red and yellow
If
do rag,
nothing else, yeah.
he could have gone away with it. But
Especially like with all the huge pop memes, he probably could have done a red and yellow one.
oh, I think so. And other noteworthy stuff from that collision: Chris Statlander and Thunder Rosa beat the Sisters of Sin, Julia Hart and Sky Blue, part of the death of the Triangle of Madness with the Women's World Champion Tekla. I thought that they were going to do Tekla and Thunder Rosa at the pay-per-view. No, this match is happening Wednesday on Dynamite. So I can't foresee Thunder Rosa beating Tekla. Tekla is just the funniest, most charismatic villain right now. I can't get enough of her. Chris Statlander's kind of been like a little dismissive, nonchalant, telling Thunder Rosa to be careful. Like maybe Tekla and her strap in the strap match scared her or scarred her. Ace, I thought that this match was happening on pay-per-view. I don't know what's going to happen on the pay-per-view anymore. Do you have an idea on where the Women's World Championship scene goes?
No, actually, which is interesting because I don't know. I don't see them. We're not just doing it. I don't hope they do Statlander again, just because I feel like that was kind of a good sort of bow on. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see kind of where they end up going with it. I can't even really think of another baby that can come up.
Because Tony Storm's having presumably a match with Marina Shafir coming up.
Yeah, I
So
imagine she'll
you're out.
probably stay away for a bit. Yeah, I can't say. I'm not too sure.
Are you enjoying the show?
Are you enjoying the show?
Fuck.
All part of
All
the
right.
show.
Yep. So
I don't know. Whoever it is, I feel like it'll just be, a quick win.
Hmm.
That almost makes me wonder if it'll just be like a Willow Nightingale or,
Although Willow already does have 2 belts, unless hey, if Willow has 3 belts, I wouldn't complain too much. I like Willow a lot, but I don't think that's where they would go though. So
no,
I don't know.
no, yeah, no. I mean, she'd lose that obviously, but
Yeah,
no.
fair play. So yeah, that's AEW. Big Dynamite this Wednesday. MJF defending the Men's World Championship against Kevin Knight. I wonder who'll win. Tekla defending the Women's World Championship against Thunder Rosa. Gee, I wonder who'll win. And I'll save my opinions for this once I see the match, and we're back here next week. The Brawling Birds of no, it's Alex Windsor. Yeah, Alex Windsor and Jamie Hayter taking on the Inspiration, formerly known as the Iconics in
Iconic.
Iconic. They still go Inspiration, and it just
Good to see
doesn't hit
them
the
still
same. But
working.
yeah, Cassie Lee, and Jesse McKay, the former Billy Kay and Peyton Royce, the former Iconics in WWE, they're all elite, and they're I got my takes for that one, but they're having their debut match Wednesday against Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor. A bunch of accents in that match. We'll see what happens. I got my takes for the Iconics. Not all bad. Not all good either. I'll say my takes for those days. But yeah, that's a big Wednesday. And then for the Revolution pay-per-view, 4 confirmed matches. MJF defending the AEW Men's World Championship, or maybe Kevin Knight brother, against Hangman Adam Page in a Texas death match. If Hangman loses, he will never be able to challenge for the AEW World Championship ever again. FTR will defend the AEW Men's World Tag Team Championships against the Young Bucks. John Moxley will defend the AEW Continental Championship against Konosuke Takeshita in a no time limit match. And Andrade El Idolo will take on Bandito. You can probably add Brodie Kane and Swerve Strickland to that card, maybe Tony Storm and Marina Shafir. But with about 2 weeks or so to go to give us a finalized card, not looking too bad so far.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to watch that long. All right, going on to actual news very quickly. News. So I don't think you need to be a wrestling fan to, I guess, be paying attention to this one. So of course, after discussions about the sale of Warner Brothers Discovery to either Netflix or Paramount Skydance, uh, there was a development over the last week that it seems like right now, as it stands, Paramount Skydance has a chance to purchase Warner Brothers Discovery, not just their TV channels or their broadcasting platforms or just their digital like HBO Max or their movie studios or intellectual property. It's like an $111 billion deal that could be approved soon, may be able to close in like the third quarter of this year or so. It's all still evolving. But yeah, this comes after Netflix put up a bid just for, I don't even think just for the TV channels, but basically just for like the streaming services and the intellectual property and the studios, etc. Paramount Skydance was almost like kind of like the side character, like you don't want my bid, and they were kind of going out of their way trying to do these hostile all cash offers. And now it appears that we've hit a fork of the road where it seems like, yeah, this may happen. There's like a multi-billion-dollar cancellation uh, clause where if this deal doesn't go through, WBD gets billions and billions of dollars. So how this relates to wrestling, AEW's biggest form of income is their multi-year media rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. They're on TBS and TNT in the States to get like $170 million a year. They're signed until 2027 with an option for 2028. Obviously, there's more stuff to be concerned about, like, oh man, how many movies are going to be released? Or, oh man, the folks that kind of turned around CBS could have CNN. Or, where's Paramount Skydance going to get this influx of cash? There's a lot of questions, but it does affect AEW somehow, some way. I know we briefly wanted to touch on it. Ace, maybe even as a moviegoer or just like a content consumer, your brief thoughts on how this is developing, and I guess anything really into AEW that is either concerning you or gives you ease or anything like that.
So just personally, I'm usually not a fan of monopolies for any any kind of business there is. That being said, now just in with the name of the game, I mean the streaming story for, forever goes, started with Netflix, and then it became so big people realized like, oh, we can make our own of this. And then of course the market got saturated, and what was supposed to replace cable ended up costing just as much, if not more now. So that being said, I mean, if you're just like strictly a consumer on the side of it, it is going to be nicer to get a whole bunch of content on just one service. The downside is they're probably going to be able to dictate whatever price they like, which we've seen in other companies that we've, beat at nausea, where when you can kind of set the market, you can charge people way too fucking much. Um, and then I mean, of course, in this day and age, I mean, the only other thing you can really look at is the politics of it, and the current administration. But I don't know. The deal was gonna go whether it was net, like they were gonna sell. It was just who it was gonna be. So I don't even know if you could necessarily really blame the networks for it, or coming down on it being a monopoly of sorts. Um, Yeah, I think the only thing we'll see is maybe a little more. I like to equate it to wrestling. You could argue obviously this is down the road too. Maybe to equate it more with a bit of censorship on kind of what they can say, what they can't say. Because unfortunately, one of the downsides to getting big and to getting massive and to having a bigger audience on you is the spotlight's also on you, and people like coming down if anything's done wrong. Or so we'll see. And again, we're probably still a little bit of ways from really seeing what the impacts of this will be. Um, so yes, I feel like it's kind of hard to comment right now too on whether or not I feel like it's going to be super terrible, or, but we'll see. It's still in its infancy, so we'll see kind of how this plays out.
Yeah, and it may not go through. And generally speaking, in the world of broadcasting. So much changes so quickly. You mentioned about the whole streaming wars and how that emerged, and now everyone's trying to merge together. Uh, in terms of
It's
trying to
almost
push,
like nobody wants everyone to pay $100 for a month for a little bit of everything. It's crazy.
right,
It's crazy.
Gemini Christmas, yeah. And so for in the case, I'll try and localize it for AEW in this case. Because like first of all, just in general as a consumer, this feels like the worst of both worlds. But I heard the arguments, oh, AEW will be toast. Netflix, they got the big partnership with WWE. WWE is the biggest brand. Or to Paramount Skydance, oh, they've got UFC, they've got a TKO, like the second crown jewel in the TKO crown. They're toast. Here's the thing, Ace, I forget the reason how this line came to be, but it became part of our verbiage. Give it a fucking Raw. Basically, everything's moving too fast. Give it a Raw. Give it a week, which is our way of saying give it some time to answer its own questions, and let's see what happens. Because for AEW's sake, Tony Khan, in his first media rights deal, only had to deal with Warner Media, and then Discovery and Warner, they merged to make Warner Brothers Discovery. And to negotiate his new deal, he's dealing with a guy named David Zaslav. And I'm not sure, well, we know the name, but this guy's like the most hated executive in Hollywood. He's infamous for cutting all of these movie productions for tax write-offs. Everyone hates this guy. But not only did Tony Khan able to win this guy over in terms of like negotiating a new media rights deal, it was David Zaslav's idea. He came to AEW. The guy who was cutting all these projects went to AEW and inquired about, what if you guys went live 2 hours on Saturday? And David Zaslav was the one who kind of pitched AEW Collision. And then they have this new media rights deal, and HBO Max is a part of it, but it basically doubles what they were making before. I think it's 170 million per year. So just because mergers happen, it's an evolving media landscape. If you still got a product that people are viewing or paying to see, you will probably be okay. And wrestling fans will go, what about the Time Warner AOL merger back in 2000 that or 2001 that killed WCW? If AEW is losing $85 million a year, then yeah, maybe then they may not get re-upped, or maybe they'll go under. But to the best of our knowledge, this is the second most profitable company in wrestling history. If you still have an audience, there will still be a platform that will want to bring you over. So my message, give it a Raw.
It's also different, I think, to compare WCW and AEW because like with Tony Khan being the owner, that's more private versus when it's a company like with Time Warner where they just wanted to offload the product. They didn't want anything to do with it. With a guy like Tony Khan who is backing it and it's his baby, he's not going to want, it's not just, well, this is it. Even worst case Ontario where, oh shit, we got to shut up shop. There's always going to be some soapbox that he'll find preach his dynamites on. Might be a different name, might be it's not. I think it's also tough too because a lot of the discourse, I feel like whenever something like this happens, and it's not just exclusive to AEW, but I think a lot of people have been almost doomsday with it, being like, well, this is it, this is what and we've seen it happen over. Oh, COVID, oh, this is it. Oh, like it's always fucking something. And we weather it, we get through it. So yeah, so I don't think it's necessarily as bad news as a lot of fans are making it out. But also, for those who have been watching for a long time, I get where you could almost see like, oh shit, like writing's on the wall here, like this is it. But no, it's if anything, it's just more money to play with. So we'll see.
Absolutely. It's not even Tony Khan's only wrestling company he has to deal with. We got news
That's
about
right. Yeah.
his second one. It may not be his baby, but it's his company nonetheless. So we talked about this. This happened Monday night. I think it was Sunday, March 1st. Basically, well, how did I start? So there used to be a company, well, there still is a company called Reign of Honor. We've talked about it briefly. It was one of those promotions that kind of emerged following the death of WCW. It focused itself on in-ring work and just giving you an alternative from I guess the pomp and circumstance, the sports entertainment side of pro wrestling. And so it was a place to for folks to work, to make money, and it never reached the heights of AEW. I think they're pretty much closer to what the old total nonstop action wrestling was than what AEW is now. But with the emergence of AEW, Reign of Honor's popularity went down because there was now a more major player giving what that audience wanted. And of course, talents heading out the doors. And then, of course, all the New Japan talent that they relied on either were going to WWE or going to AEW or sticking to New Japan. And so eventually, the owner of Ring of Honor at the time, Sinclair, which has all those Fox and affiliates, all those like local TV stations across the states. If you watch season 1 of Succession, you kind of know what our real life version of Sinclair is. But so basically, they were going to be sold. Sinclair was going to halt operations. I think it was WWE and AEW were the only bidders, and WWE was only interested in the videotape library because guys like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk,
Oh, it
a
built
bunch
half
of
the roster from 2010. Like it's crazy.
oh my god, it's insane. So there's value in having that tape. So Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor almost 4 years ago now. Wild how time flies, by the way. And everyone
Yeah,
thought, oh,
Jesus.
you just got the library. But he has tried many a times to kind of make Ring of Honor its own thing, his second company, whether it's trying to find a media rights deal that didn't emerge or having taped episodes from Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, or taping Ring of Honor segments before or after AEW tapings. So recently on Sunday, from this place is just remarkably small. It's called WJCT Studios. It's in Jacksonville, Florida. It's a couple blocks away from the Jaguar Stadium and Daly's Place, which the Khan family owns. Ace, I've seen, I think there are more people that routinely go to VIPW shows and thrash wrestling shows than went to this Ring of Honor taping. It was like 2 rows. It was studio viewing. The fans who went there, they had to register, but they got to go in for free. They got catered pizza. Like they got pizza and a handshake and a wrestling show.
Yeah.
There were over 30 matches during this taping segment. This went 5+ hours, and Tony Khan said, we're doing it again on March 22nd. So it seems like this is the way Ring of Honor is going to be doing things in the short term. I have many takes about this, and if you're an AEW fan, I have ways to relate to that. I think this will be a great thing for AEW too. I think this will be great for Ring of Honor, but your thoughts on this new path for Ring of Honor and just what's been developing over the last little bit. Would you go to a show for 5 hours and get fed pizza and see 30-something matches if you could do it for free?
Will say it is interesting that it was the fans getting a hot dog and a handshake. And in this case, the handshake was thank you so much for coming. Always. No, so I think we always kind of knew once ROH was bought that in a similar vein to NXT, it's going to end up being AEW's sort of farm system. And I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, maybe the diehard guys from, you know, fans, especially the fans from back then, might look at it as a step down. But with the emergence of AEW, and we've seen it with, you know, obviously TNA getting to the heights it did before, you know, it kind of started its partnership with WWE and then fell even way before that when it fell in the 2000s or the 2010s, I should say. Um, I think it was a really cool way to kind of keep it alive still without, you know, and I know obviously it's its own brand and you could argue AEW can make its own farm system or whatever you want, but I don't know. I think it's a nice spot and it's a nice nod to keep this show around because, you know, like a lot of people still remember this name, even who, you know, are more casual with wrestling. Like so many of these guys, like it's interesting for a show that was there to counter program WWE and it was going to be a lot more gritty and whatnot because literally every single major star from like 2007, like the 2010s mainly onwards, like all those guys like Steen, Generico, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Tyler Black, Seth Roll, like everybody, Claudio, everybody came from this. So I think it's a nice way to kind of keep that alive without fully just, okay, we bought the library rights. Let's, the same way with WCW, how it was just sort of ended, right? It's nice to see, I mean, you could look at it a bit more cynically too, and maybe you want WWE to have it for the library because then it's all kind of one big collection of, but now without the network, when they don't even want to put those shows on Netflix, it's the fucking point of it, right? Um, but no, I think it's good, and I think with them focusing on, hey, this is development. I like the move. Maybe there's some ROH purists that sorry, there's a fire truck going by. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm sure
Give
there's
me
some
both,
ROH
brother.
purists who might not be huge on the move. As it looks like a step down. You can even see with the production of it. But I do think long term it'll be good. My only thing is, yeah, with that studio, because it does obviously look very much like a TV studio. Maybe it's just how much I love Daly's place, but like it's right there, like just
It's undergoing renovations, as
oh,
is
is it?
the
Okay, well, there
football
you go.
stadium. So that is why. And nothing against studio wrestling. Like wrestling was basically conceived in studios because
Yeah,
not necessarily, but like say like Georgia Championship Wrestling, like the NWA, like they're being filmed in front of a live studio audience for weekly TV,
Saturday
and
night
then
WCW.
yeah, and then you go into an arena for your pay-per-view event or your big cable or your big network show or whatever it is. So nothing against studios, but I don't know. There's a way, 2 rows just around the ring. I don't know. It's the first taping, so there's a way to maybe fiddle with like the layout. But
Yeah,
this is good
no, I'll
news.
definitely check it out
Oh,
and
go
see how it is.
Yeah, I think before I get into like how this is good news all around, it's first Ring of Honor. It's should be developmental. It sort of is. It's sort of not. Like someone like Kyle Fletcher, for example, like when his tag team partner Mark Davis went down with an injury, Kyle Fletcher was like the Ring of Honor television champion, and he was having banner after banner match and like really kind of grew into his own as a single star during those Ring of Honor tapings. So that's one example. And then you have like someone like, say, younger folks who are again used to like did the TV production side of things, like Nick Wayne and Billy Starks over the years can do like, I mean, Nick Wayne's already great to begin with, but then you got like someone like Athena who's like overqualified for like a developmental brand. So I think if you're doing this, you need to have more of a developmental focus, but you still need some folks to work, but you could make it your own NXT in a sense to get these guys some
Of
reps.
course, yeah.
And like the main event of it all, I'd watch the same day was Commander and my guy, my fellow Pierce the Veil fan, Nick Wayne. So honestly, if you got someone, even if you don't have anything to do with them on AEW TV, or even if it's someone that you think may need more reps, not saying Commander and Nick Wayne need those, but it would be helpful. So I think this will be good, but also for AEW's product, because when Reign of Honor was purchased, the intellectual property came with it too. So all of a sudden on AEW, you had all of these Ring of Honor belts being defended and competed for. And here's the thing, nothing against Ring of Honor, but most of these AEW fans are tuning in for AEW. If
Yeah.
they wanted to tune in for Ring of Honor would have still been a thing essentially, and they would have had a TV deal. And so going to these shows, because I've gone to a handful of weekly TV shows for AEW, the first Ring of Honor match I ever technically saw was in Los Angeles. It was the go home show before the Full Gear pay per view that year. They said, "Hey, stick around. We got one more Ring of Honor match for you," and they were kind of hoping that we'd get a little bit more enthusiastic. It was Athena and Billy Starks taking on the team of Marina Shafir, and Ronda Rousey was in the first Ring of Honor match I ever saw. Yes, former UFC champion Ronda Rousey, and it was a lot of fun. And so that was just the one, because that's the thing. It's not like you go in like, oh, I'm gonna go see Raw, and then there's like you just see a 2 hour show. It's sort of like WWE main event where they'll just film various segments at
Yeah.
various tapings and just compile one show. And so I think that's good, but also for the live experience, that's good too, because before AEW would have a show called AEW Dark that aired on YouTube, and that's how everyone would kind of get their reps in. Now it's Ring of Honor being taped before and after. And I remember I didn't see the Ring of Honor matches before the Collision show in Vancouver back in 2024, but BC indie wrestling legend, Rhea Von Slasher, she was on that Ring of Honor taping. So it's cool to give folks opportunities like that if you're around the indies to be able to be part of that television production. The downside was after the show was over, whether it's 2 hours or 3 hours, there'd be like another hour or two of Ring of Honor tapings, and some folks would leave. A lot of folks would leave because they didn't pay to see Ring of Honor. So this building that you're in now might be maybe a quarter full, maybe a half full at best. Sometimes concessions are closed, and you're just ending your experience with a couple of matches without heat of folks that you may not be familiar with as hard as they're working. So that aspect, having an atmosphere like a rowdy TV studio audience rather than a mostly empty, cold building, that should do miles for Ring of Honor's production for folks that will subscribe to Honor Club, put $12 a month in or whatever it is to constantly see it. So I don't know. I think it's as good a move as possible. And who knows, maybe they'll get a media rights deal. I know they tried their best with Chris Jericho as the men's world champion to try and get some sort of a TV deal. I know they had a chance with the CW. Tony wanted to stay loyal to Warner Brothers Discovery. Then NXT went on the CW. So who knows what will happen? But Ring of Honor. I don't know. I'm not sure if how much time we'll have for it, but it's good to exist. But God, there's just so much wrestling, man. What do we do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I know we're already pushing against it for time, but we both kind of wanted to get this in just because it's kind of a crazier story. But,
last but not least, yeah.
Last but certainly not least, as I extend the time on our Zoom meeting here a little bit, this is Cup Check Unreal. You're seeing how we script these shows and how we go about
enjoying the show because I'm not.
Alrighty, so WrestleMania weekend. So we kind of mentioned that it's not just WWE having shows. There are other promotions that will kind of ride the coattails off of WrestleMania weekend to try and sell out some shows. So Game Changer Wrestling, which is one of the more major independent promotions in the world, they've been doing WrestleMania weekend shows for like a decade or so now. One of the major shows of that GCW does during WrestleMania week is called Joey Janela's Spring Break. And so Joey Janela is like an influential deathmatch, extreme hardcore kind of wrestler, kind of made to AEW. Unfortunately, didn't work out with the live crowd, but pretty influential, does a good job. He has a match called the Clusterfuck. I'm not kidding. That's what it's called. And so it's basically this multi-hour, close to 100 participants battle royal, where it's basically you get thrown over the top rope, you get pinned or you're submitted, and that's how you get eliminated. It's basically a way to have fun. Like you'll have retirees and people who are like shouldn't be in a real match get to participate. It's all about having fun. So last year in the Clusterfuck, the winner in his debut was Brodie Lee Jr., the son of the late Mr. Brodie Lee, the son of Luke Harper in WWE as he is known. That was his debut technically, but this kid, he's 14 years old now. He's got his first singles match against Joey Janela at Joey Janela's Spring Break at WrestleMania weekend. They shot an angle for this. 14-year-old Brodie Lee is making his singles debut, Ace. I'm not sure you've seen the angles. I'm not sure you just heard the news. What are you thinking right now? I got so many things that you touch on this.
I mean, hey, I got my first job at McDonald's when I was 14. So you know what? No, I it was weird because like at first I did see the clips going around, and I wanted at first to say like, yeah, maybe a little gimmicky, maybe not the most safe, but at the same time, I mean, we hear stories all the time about, Paige wrestling when she was 13 or Rey Mysterio wrestling when he was 9. I think with this, it's just kind of like we actually see it versus just some arena show. So I've come around a bit after thinking about it because when I first heard it, I was like, okay, that is a little young, but they'll make sure everything's safe. And
Yeah.
obviously anything can happen, but In 14, like I said, I was, actually, funny enough, when I worked at McDonald's at 14, I wasn't allowed to touch the grill yet. You had to be 15 for that. So I was only on tills for the first year of my McDonald's career.
Oh my God. Would they allowed you to take a pile driver or sell a punch from Joey Janela at McDonald's?
Probably not. Um, but but yeah, no, I think it's pretty cool. And I mean, let's be, he's as this business usually is, he'll probably want to be a wrestler when he grows up, anyways. So give him a head start. Why not?
Yeah, because we don't know him, of course. We don't know him, but we've seen him on TV for years now. I mean, it was a sad day a little over 5 years ago where Brodie Lee uh, unexpectedly passed away from an illness. And so on the tribute show that AEW did, the Dynamite afterwards, one of my favorite wrestling programs ever, there's Brodie Lee. He's got like a lucha mask on, and I can't imagine. I think he's like he had to be in like 7, 8, 9, something like that. But your father tragically dies, and you're out there on national TV, and you're at the end there where Cody Rhodes calls you and your mom out, and then his Brodie Lee's boots are in the rain, and then his son uh, puts a little purple bandana over him. And I just can't imagine the strength it takes to put yourself in front of that national audience to be able during one of the worst days and the worst stretches of your life. And so I'm rooting for him. And I think after that, he was taken care of. Like you'll see him like his mother, Amanda Huber, still works with AEW, and you'll see Brodie, like all these videos of Brodie Lee Jr. training with Liv Morgan or training with Natty or Tyson Kidd. He's trained for this. He's, in a sense, like he's not as big as his dad was. He's 14. He's just going through his growth spurt. He kind of sounds like his dad, like a little high pitched, but like you can see where the lineage
Once
is.
those balls drop, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So he's taken care of. He's trained for this, and it's just something that we haven't really quite seen this. Like you and I, per se, like haven't seen someone this young really have a legitimate wrestling match. So it's a little shocking because yeah, like Stephanie Vicaire started young. Nick Wayne, I think he either made his debut when he was 12 or 14, one of the two, but his dad, the late Buddy Wayne, was a wrestler, and so Nick got a head start at training too. So I got another story on Nick Wayne and just game changer wrestling, but I don't know, he'll be odd to see, but like I'm pretty excited to see this. I hope everything goes okay. I hope Brodie Lee Jr. doesn't get hurt, but will you try and sniff this match out? We'll hopefully be way better, but our version of Butterbean versus Minoru Suzuki, where you gotta see this.
I was just thinking of it, funny enough, too. If he ever does make it to the Fed someday, he's still about 25 years away from his prime and a world title.
The funny thing is, I think technically, and this is where it's odd because I don't know if this is just for show or what it was. Apparently, Brodie Lee Jr. does have an AEW contract, but I think
that's right. When he was 18, right?
Was that he needs to turn 18 and he needs to graduate high school. I think those are the kickers because Nick Wayne had a similar thing where he was 16 years old. He was wrestling in his hometown, Seattle, Washington, for Defy. Darby Allin comes to the show and he gives him an AEW contract, but he has to graduate high school. And he made his debut just right after he turned 18. This is like in 2023. I think his first match was in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan against Swerve.
Hey.
That's like, what a story.
But boys.
Yeah, but GCW Game Changer Wrestling, they have done this where Nick Wayne was supposed to wrestle. He was 16 years old at the time. He was supposed to wrestle at GCW's biggest show at that point is at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City. ECW and Ring of Honor famously ran there. However, the state athletic commissions with pro wrestling vary state by state, and Nick Wayne was not allowed to wrestle on that show because he wasn't 18. So GCW basically tried to make it up for him. Nick, we're going to book you in a match with Will Ospreay, your favorite wrestler. And they had a barn burner under the GCW umbrella. Ace, could you imagine at 16, you're still at McDonald's, maybe you're working at the old HMV, and your manager tells you, Ace, I'm sorry, we'll book you in a match with Eddie Guerrero, and you have a fantastic match
cool.
with Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah. That's the caveat, because then I'd have to also carry my own weight. And yeah.
It is wild. So we'll see what happens. Best of luck to Brodie Lee Jr. Big step. Feels like he's ready for this. Hopefully nobody gets injured, and she'll be a barn burner of a match. All my fingers are crossed for you. I'll even cross my thumbs for you. But no, yeah, it's insane. Just WrestleMania weekend. A 14-year-old is going to be in a headline match for one of the top indie promotions in the world. He already sold a pile driver to Joey Janela.
It's a worker.
So much. What a worker. Holy smokes. And speaking of workers, we've been putting in the overtime. It feels like we're at McDonald's right now putting in the overtime. But next time we'll join you will be Sunday, March 8th. There's always something, but that something will be Matt Maverick, the former two-time VIPW champion, will be the first guest in the history of the Cup Check Wrestling Podcast. Ace, I am on my hands and knees, not literally, but I will be figuratively. Please tell me you don't got something on Sunday.
I think no, I think I work till 4.
Oh,
so it's I think I work till 4. But we're pretty close. We're pretty close.
I think we already talked about this. I almost had a heart attack.
We did, yeah.
I almost had a shoot heart attack, brother.
Yeah.
Okay, so so this is Cup Check Wrestling. A busy week. Thank you for sticking with us through the bitter end. Please join us for Sunday, March 8th, when the pod drops next time. Should be a hell of a conversation with Matt Maverick. Until then, this is Cup Check Wrestling. I'm Aaron Schultz, Corey Ace Trelaw. This is where the big boys play with each other.